67 without loss, England, after a productive opening session. And Andy Zaltzman has been beavering away, and he's got a very exciting fact for us.
Yes, Daniel, this opening stand of 29 overs is England's longest opening stand in the first innings of a home test since the Leeds test of 2015 against New Zealand, when Cook and Lyth batted 59 overs, adding 177, although England went on to lose that game.
Did Lyth get his 100 that game?
Yes, that was his one test 100.
Yeah, I thought so.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. That means, there are probably children who have just got into the game, who may be sort of 12, 13 years old, who have never seen...
No, never experienced.
An opening partnership this lengthy in the first innings of a home test for England.
What times we live in, Daniel.
I know. And I dare say they're incredibly grateful, if slightly discombobulated today, this army of people who have never seen such a thing.
Well, it's a perfect start, isn't it, for England?
It is, really.
Yeah, you win the toss on overcast conditions, and it is still. I thought it was going to do a little bit more, but they're still there, none down.
A bit of nip off the seam.
And a little bit of shape. But they've blunted it well and got England into a good position after lunch here.
But this is the danger moment, of course, because... you dream.
You've all had your lunch.
Exactly. You've had your lunch. You've had the lobster and the chicken. And
yes, you were raving about it. Was it nice?
It was lovely.
Yeah,
it really was lovely. It's Edgbaston. It's just
lobster.
The king of grounds for food.
It's a posh lunch for the media, isn't it? Lobster and chicken.
It's unlike anywhere else. It's why I'm so grateful to be here. It's just marvellous. Matt Henry's going to bowl the first ball after lunch to the left-handed Burns. 2 slips and a gully are in, and Burns defends into the onside. But he'll get a single for it as it just manages to work it backward a square. And Ajaz Patel has to move from square leg to field. There's a run off the first ball. Burns to 33. Sibley has 31. I was just going to say, you sort of dream of a first day when you've blunted the new ball and the pitch has just got that little bit easier. The early moisture has gone. Ball's not moving as much. Yeah. But of course, this first half an hour after lunch will determine.
And that's what they've done. That shot there, for me, has just been what's the difference that these two guys have done since Lords. Is that they've just looked to dab and run a bit, rotate strike, keep the scoreboard ticking, instead of just dropping it and not looking like anything's going to happen. They've just tried to be a bit more busy.
Henry in. We've got third slip in now for Sibley, and Sibley lets this go. Does that come off a little bit of glove? Went along the ground there. He was trying to leave it, and it just got a bit bigger on him than he thought.
Fortunate there. Yes. Yeah, he's managed to sort of punch that down a bit instead of it just glancing a glove through to the keeper.
This is a tradition, of course, that we were very used to for years and years and years, but now I'm seeing that the stands are still waiting to fill up because people are having their lunches, they're coming back from their lunches and their queues. Out on the concourse, the Holly stand gradually filling up as Henry is in, and Sibley lets a very, very wide ball go. Henry's bowled a wide today, is he not?
Yeah, he's already,
And in his first over.
That's right. And there was a similar shaped delivery there, 68 without loss. And this will be exactly what the likes of Ollie Pope and Dan Lawrence are so grateful for, isn't it?
Let's get a big one. As I said, we set the platform. Let's kick on here and try and get a 450 or something.
Here comes Henry into Sibley. Sibley guides this down to third man for 4, and whether he entirely meant it to go there, I'm not quite sure. It was off a sort of thick outside edge, and there's a gap between third slip and gully, and he managed to get it along the ground. It wasn't in the air for any great length of time, and he's picked up his first boundary, albeit slightly fortuitous. He just had a little look. There's a little bit of a way shape, but he played it softly, soft hands. Waited for it to come to him, and I always think that's fair as a batter. You got a bowler who's swinging it a bit, as long as you're playing it late.
Didn't poke out at it, did he? Or follow through? Just sort of let it deflect off the bat.
Here comes Henry again, waddling from side to side, full, wide, taken by Blundell. If you're just
waddling,
he's got a slight waddle. Like many a New Zealander, we've had an actual waddle in this parish, but he's sort of
rocks.
A little bit like there used to be a sort of large bear that used to advertise a certain type of beer, which shall not be mentioned.
No, he had a hat on.
That's right, that one. Here comes Henry, and poking at this, has he got an edge and gone? Sibley's gone. Well, that was in the channel outside off stump as a tentative little poke, and he got a fairly sizable edge through to Blundell, and New Zealand have made that breakthrough after lunch when Sibley was at his perhaps most vulnerable, and he now has to trudge off for 35. Caught by Blundell off the bowling of Henry. It's
Good ball.
it is a good ball. It's in the channel. He, strictly speaking, perhaps didn't need to play at it,
No,
but
yeah, just after lunch, as you were saying, Dan, just after lunch, you've got to get yourself back in, you've got to get yourself accustomed again, and good channel, slight bit of shape away, perhaps could have just drawn the bat away at the last minute, but just left it there in a thick outside edge, to the keeper. And he's got to go.
well, that's exactly what New Zealand wanted. They toiled and toiled in that first session, beat the bat on many occasions, and, well, they've picked up the wicket of Sibley.
Now, this is Crawley needs some runs here.
He
for
does.
me, Dan, doesn't he?
He does.
And he also needs to show a bit of like the way he's grown as a Test cricketer.
Well, he got out very disappointingly in the first innings at
That's
Trent
right.
Lords. I mean, that was the one that I think will disappoint most.
Yeah.
Because it was early in his innings, wide, driving a full-length ball and getting a thick edge. And he will no doubt have his sort of recent form, and we can see the sort of level of peril, if you like, that
Yeah.
Crawley is in.
After the 2-6-7, I don't think it's been great.
It has, and I mean, everybody struggled, didn't they, in the winter, because
Yeah.
they were on pitches against high-quality bowling that was very testing indeed in the winter. Am I reading this right? 102 runs at an average of 12.7.
Yes, I thought it might be something like that.
Yes, not ideal. And there is a 50 in there as well. But Wagner's going to start a new over, bowling to Rory Burns in that gentle away shape that we saw quite a lot of in the first session. Is to the 4 once more as the ball goes through to Blundell. So,
Decent
sorry,
ball,
Andy.
that to Sibley. Decent ball. Sorry, I've seen it there again on the replay. Decent ball.
Crawley's form since that 267, which was his fourth 50-plus score in 8 innings at that point. Just 106 runs now in 10 innings, including the 102 in the winter and just 4 in 2 innings at Lords. So averaging 10.6 since his 267.
Wagner in to Burns. And Burns drives firmly, and well, he's going to get a run for it. It goes to the right of Conway and the left of mid-wicket. Conway's at mid-off, and they get through for another run. So Burns moves to 34, 73 for 1. Crawley's going to be on strike. So, I mean, Crawley, of that top 3, is the one who looks to be a bit more aggressive,
Yes.
likes to feel bat on ball.
Yeah, no, without doubt.
So he can't afford to just sort of go into a shell, is it? I mean,
No.
this is its attitude he's got to find, isn't it?
Yeah.
Positive in whatever he does.
Yeah, what they used to say in the dressing room was play straight until you get to about 20.
Oh, right.
And then you can start looking to clip things away and start looking after it. you
In
know.
the V. Oh.
Yeah, I mean, it's these things, they ring true.
They do, don't they?
Yeah. They're there for a reason, and he's got to be careful because this is just shaping back into that front pad of his.
Here comes Wagner into him. His first ball is wide of the off stump, a tempter, but Crawley leaves it alone and then goes off for a little walk. So there'll be a few who missed that Sibley wicket, I think,
Yeah.
coming back from lunch.
Yeah, I think also about Crawley, I think it's because he has got all the shots. He has got all the shots in the locker. He does that lovely off drive he's got, and he looks to put bat on ball. And I think sometimes he just goes a little bit early. Get yourself in, get yourself seeing it before you start unfurling the big shots.
An open stance to the left armour, and this ball's fuller and nearer to off stump, but left alone again. I mean, he's a lovely sight when he gets going. That's part
great
of it.
big tall, big long levers, and he can sort of, some balls where people would be defending because he's so tall and long arms and long levers, as I said, he can just push out to it and hit it through the extra cover region and straight back down the ground. He can almost play through the bowler's length a little bit, but it can get you in trouble if you do it too early. Get yourself in.
Wagner runs away from us, left arm over the wicket. Crawley leaves this. It's a decision to leave late, and then he decided to play late, and that ball has swung back quite alarmingly and has missed the off stump by a whisker.
That's
just going to have a little look at this again.
That's funny. He's about halfway through his leave. He's gone, oh no, it's swinging back at me. Quick, get me back down.
I mean, as John Arlott said, and the sentence is on the lavatory at Old Trafford, he said that shot was so late as to be almost posthumous. And indeed, he sort of played it as the ball was going into Blundell's gloves.
Yeah.
Spot on. It was a moment of panic for Crawley there. He needs to get his head on as Wagner is into him. And he drives, caught at third slip. Crawley has gone, playing at a ball in the channel, a thick edge. It went at waist height, taken very comfortably. And New Zealand, after a barren first session, we're only in the second over after lunch. They've picked up 2 wickets. First Sibley, and now Crawley for a duck.
Yes, disappointed. I mean, it's pretty well bowled, that, isn't he? But in the big hooping in-swinger, which he then went to leave the bowl beforehand, and that's the one that's pushed across the right-hander of Crawley. It was a little bit fuller as well, and he just put the bat on it because of the ball beforehand, if you know what I'm trying to say. And the one that's gone across him has got a thick outside edge and gone to third slip, so he's got to go for naught.
He was spooked, wasn't he? He was spooked by the previous ball. You could see when you watch the replay of that, his decision to play was late, and he didn't play it really. He just sort of put the bat there at the last minute, and of course, as a result, he offered the catch. The catch was good bowling. It didn't swing. It did go across.
Teed him up.
Absolutely, but he managed to do it in just 2 balls, didn't he? Really, it was the
big in-swinger that he left, and it spooked him, as you said.
It did spook him.
Good bowling.
That's the first time we've heard a full-throated Root as Joe Root walks out to bat. I don't think he was expecting to be walking out 10 minutes ago. He probably thought he had a little bit longer, but he's going to be walking out to bat now with England having lost 2 quick wickets. New Zealand with their tails up. And it was the last ball of the over, the last ball of the previous over as well. So, in 12 balls, New Zealand have prized open 2 wickets. Rory Burns has just faced the 3 balls, hit 2 of them for singles. And now there's pressure, big pressure on England's middle order.
Must have had a good lunch, New Zealand, because they've come out and they've just got the ball shaping a bit better and in better areas, and it's going a bit later as well.
Well, we do have to get. It's oftentimes we fixate on the technical failings of a batter and think about that, but actually we've seen 2 splendid top-class overs from Henry and Wagner here as Henry runs into the left-handed Burns. Burns plays at a ball that's short that goes across his bows and into the gloves of the keeper. Suddenly, after a first session, which I'm not going to say was easy, they had to play and miss a few times, did Burns and Sibley, but after lunch at the moment, ball's doing all sorts.
Yeah, and just looking back at the replay there, that was pretty wide.
The Crawley dismissal.
Yeah, and it was just sort of like, as you said, just to put the bat there, to sort of, I don't quite know what I'm doing, I've been stuffed here.
Henry in, and that's played off the back foot by Burns into the offside. There's no run. I mean, this is not taking anything away from the quality of the bowling there. As Phil Tufnell quite rightly said, first the ball before, swung back in, Crawley played it, well, didn't really play it, and clearly was agitated by that. And then the next ball, if you saw that dismissal on its own, it would look appalling.
Yeah, you've got to see it in.
You need the context.
Yes, you do. Yeah, won't look good for the highlights really if they don't put the first one in.
No, they do need to do that for him really. Henry is in and full ball on the pads, worked to Mitchell at short mid-wicket. There's no run.
Well, right, mate, when I played with Middlesex, Ramp said the one style of bowler that he hated to face when you go in is the left arm in swinger.
Is that right?
Yeah, he said it was absolutely horrible because you can just look to go forward to a forward length ball, and if it swings in, it hits you on the pad and you're out.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't then swing, you're still playing exactly the same shot and you get an outside edge.
But tell me, what's the difference between that and the right armer bowling to the left-hander over the wicket?
Yeah, he just seemed to think it was harder.
Henry's round the wicket to Burns, and Burns is leaving this alone.
I don't know why.
No run. I suppose it's because left armers face right armers more often, whereas the right armers bowled to fewer left-handers, perhaps.
I think it's because the straight ball from the right armer to the right-hander, getting a little bit technical now, you can just easier. It's sort of an easier ball to see and play. I think it's mainly because you're just a little bit more used to it as well.
Yeah, and the stance perhaps it has to be opened up a little bit more.
Yes.
Henry in for left-handed Burns, who drives beautifully through mid-off. He didn't time it brilliantly, but he has found the gap between extra cover and the vacant mid-off. And he's going to turn for a third run, which will take him up to 37 and England to 76 for 2.
I think I've got it.
Oh, yeah?
I think I've got it. I think it's because the straighter ball from the right arm seamer to a right-hander shouldn't particularly get you out LBW, should it?
No, but I'm thinking about the right arm. Oh, is it a no ball as well? No, I don't think it was. I'm thinking about the right armour
Yeah.
to the left-hander.
Oh, yeah, well, that's similar, yeah.
Similar, and yet somehow the left armers, I suppose,
Yeah.
they sort of all of them have to be able to swing the ball back in.
Well,
don't they?
well, if they can, they're an asset. You know, the old non-swinging left arm seamer is
Not so much.
not so much. Yeah, it's a good bowler, but if you have that in swing, it's tricky.
The likes of Stark and Mitchell Johnson at his peak.
Wazzy Makram
Wazzy Makram.
springs to mind.
Yes, I mean, yes, he's a scary
Yeah.
and formidable memory for many people. I
Yeah,
should
no,
think.
Stark, if he gets it swinging in early on, which he usually does, is really tricky.
And it's what he looks to do, isn't it?
Yeah.
To the right hand. Henry is now into the right-handed Root. Root's first ball is outside the off stump and left alone into the gloves of Blundell. So if you are just joining us, if you just had made yourself lunch and you thought, well, I'll come back and listen about 5 to 2. I've got a few things to do. Maybe I've got to send an odd email, a bit of work.
An odd email.
Or an odd yeah, well, most emails so can be that way. And you thought, well, I'll check back in with the cricket. And you're thinking, what's Root doing in? Well, that's because New Zealand have picked up 2 wickets in the first 2 overs after lunch. Sibley and Crawley as beaten. Root is beaten on the outside edge and it's going to run away for 4 because not only was Root beaten, but so was the keeper Blundell, who's a bit annoyed with himself. He's wringing his hand. I think it might have got hit the bottom of the fingers, perhaps.
It's just something's happened, isn't it funny?
Yes, that's a lovely ball.
Seemed, yes. That has gone like a leg break.
And has then dipped on the keeper, who well,
Yeah.
yes, and it's just hit the bottom of his gloves and then gone through his legs and down to the boundary for 4. So
Have we had a monsoon during lunch
don't
or something?
know.
Something happened
Yes.
that I haven't been aware of because it's doing all sorts.
Henry's bowling towards us, which is why we're sort of relying on the replays to be able to gauge the amount.
Well, it has
Thickened up the cloud.
thickened up
Yes.
a little bit lower and a little bit sort of darker as well. So that is why perhaps the
Could be.
ball's just started to wobble more. England got to be careful with this spell. New Zealand right on it after lunch.
And it's clammy out there as Wagner is into Burns. Burns defends a full ball on off stump up to mid-on, and there's just a different sense at the moment to the cricket.
Yeah.
New Zealand's all the fielders chasing after a ball, where just before lunch there wasn't poor body language, but there wasn't quite perhaps the same vigour and enthusiasm as we're seeing at the moment.
Well, I was thinking if I'd have won the toss, I might have had a bowl. You know,
Did you?
I very rarely think that. Just for one. So was Aggers about overhead conditions, so it might just be happening now.
Here comes Wagner into Burns. Burns defends
Play.
again, firmly and solidly back at the wicket. No run. Burns coming into this game.
He looks in neck, doesn't he?
He's had a run of very good form.
Yeah.
He's had 8 50-plus scores this season, am I right? And he's a couple of hundreds in there.
Getting himself into line beautifully, isn't he? Just
Yeah.
those trigger movements, very flamboyant, lots of moving parts, as we always say. But he's getting himself into a lovely position just to address the ball.
Here is Wagner running away from us. Into Burns, and Burns leaves us alone outside the off stump in the channel. It was a little wide, he didn't have to be tempted. 2 slips, gully cover. Extra cover mid-off, wide-ish mid-on, deep backward square and a long leg.
Well, they're not going to give up, New Zealand, are they? They're
No.
one of those sides that, okay, we didn't get any in the first session. You know, they're a dogged side. They know their stuff, experienced.
And he got some very, very good bowlers.
Yes.
Bolt and Wagner and Henry, of course, as well. Here is Wagner, he's up to the crease. Burns drives firmly, solidly, without great timing or placement to Conway, and there's no run.
Burns this summer, this is his 9th match, his 13th innings, 748 runs, averaging 68, strike rate fractionally under 50 per 100 balls, 2 centuries, including that fine effort in the first test, 6 other half centuries. So yes, in his
How
previous
many
12 innings, eight times he's reached 50.
How many runs this season did you say overall?
748.
Whoa!
And he just started.
He might be the first to 1,000 this year. You never know. Wagner is into Burns. Burns leave this alone well. Good judgment of his off stump as the ball swings into Blundell's gloves. You can watch the wickets that have fallen now on the BBC Sport website and app. Or, of course, on BBC 2, 7 p.m. tonight for Today at the Test with all of the finest of the voices on TMS. We've got you, Tuffers,
Yeah.
Vorney, Sir Chef, Aggers. Run me through them all.
Alison,
Alison,
Isha.
Isha, Yeah. Very, very few missing. As Wagner is in, and that's left alone outside the off stump through to the keeper. And there's no run. That is the end of the over. And England are 81 for 2. Burns has 37. Root is yet to score. You're right, Tuffers.
Yes. Can't take my eyes off your shirt, actually. The Parrots have made an appearance. Haven't seen them all summer.
No, I thought they'd bring them out. It felt like a first day kind of shirt. A bit of. Well, I'll get more sober as the match progresses.
No, I like it. It's made me smile on the first day, which is nice.
Thank you. We've got news. I've got news.
Go on.
It's just been confirmed that 5 top Indian players, Harmanpreet Kaur, Smriti Mandana, Dipti Sharma, Jemima Rodriguez and Shafali Verma, have signed up to play in the 100. That is actually very big news, especially obviously for women's cricket, but for cricket in general. Indian players signing up for an English domestic tournament as Henry starts a new over. Root is late on that, a thick inside edge, cannons off his pad and goes out to point. There's no run. Verma, the number 1 ranked T20 batter in the world, comes in as a replacement for Sophie Devine at Birmingham Phoenix. Kaur will play for Manchester Originals. Mandana is set to form an exciting opening partnership with Danny Wyatt at Southern Brave. Dipti Sharma will join England captain Heather Knight at London Spirit. And Jemima Rodriguez will be in the purple of Northern Superchargers. No Oval Invincibles there, Adam. As Henry is in, off the back foot, cut, or punched really, to backward point, where Ajaz Patel does the fielding. There's no run. So once again, the Oval Invincibles are not mentioned, even in dispatches. I'm very upset to say.
Is that another bunch of bananas arrived in the Holly stand?
It is, you know. Yeah, do you think there might be banana violence at any point today? There might be a clash of bananas.
Banana off.
Banana off, exactly. Henry into Root. Root defends again. Front foot late.
Oh, they're having a good sing-song. It's an early sing-song from the Hollies, isn't it?
Oh, look, and we got a parade. We have a movement. We have a conga line.
Have we?
I don't know what's in that line. There could be a Pope. There could be an Archbishop of Canterbury. I don't know.
Elvis usually makes an appearance.
Does tend to.
And the beach ball's back as well.
Oh, the beach ball is a big feature of the Holly stand. We have our beach ball back. As Henry is in to Root. Root drives in the air through the gap between third slip and gully, runs down to the deep third boundary for 4. A loose shot, and at the moment it just feels like a wicket could fall off almost any ball. 85 for 2 with that streaky boundary.
They've got it happening for them at the moment. Oh, that's shaped again, and it was full. 3 slips and a gully waiting in the corner, and Joe Root's decided to go hell for leather for that one outside off stump. The kitchen sink, but got it between the gap. Bit of fortune.
Why is this happening? Is it, as Phil Tufnell suggests, is it the overheads? Is it the clamminess? Is it the humidity? But it's suddenly moving more than it did in the morning. Henry in. Oh, edged and gone! Root's got to go, poking at another away swinger. The New Zealanders are cock-a-hoop. They've got 3 after lunch, and they got the really big one of Joe Root, who played that loose drive the ball before. This was fuller, perhaps straighter, certainly, and he just poked at it. It's got a little outside edge, and it's been taken by Blundell. England 85 for 3.
Yeah, right on top here, New Zealand. That one did shape away from Joe Root. It's a good line, good channel bowling, isn't it? It's right on the money, and just manages to get an edge, and well taken by Blundell actually. But yep, something's afoot out there. I don't know what it is. It must be the clouds or something, because New Zealand are getting this ball talking after lunch.
It really is all happening. So I'm going to get out of here and leave you in the more than capable hands of Isha Guha.
Thanks for that, Dan. Yeah, it's been a lot livelier after the lunch break. I wonder if it had the lobster too, Tuffers.
Yeah, might have done. There wasn't a lot of it, but what was of it was there. But I'm just looking above the overhead, Isha. Don't you think it's just got a bit lower and a bit darker overhead?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it was pretty dark before the lunch break. The lights were on then. Plenty of cloud cover. Just looking at that last delivery to Joe Root, it seemed off the pitch. He was getting more sort of shape in the air, and just did enough to extract the England captain. Here comes Ollie Pope then, striding out to the middle, shuffling away to meet Rory Burns as they glove punch. Matt Henry with his tail up. An average of 50 in Test cricket. Sir Alistair Cook was talking about him prior to the interval, saying he couldn't quite believe it was that high. a quality bowler. He's played a lot of county cricket as well here in England. 3 slips in position then as Ollie Pope just gets adjusted to the surroundings of 18,000 people here at Edgbaston. The crowd in full voice as he gently taps his bat down, looking down the pitch to Henry approaching him. Leaves outside the off stump. A teasing delivery through to the keeper. End of the over then. 85 for 3. Burns remains on 37. Ollie Pope has just come to the wicket. Faced that one delivery. Andy?
Just on Matt Henry, who mentioned earlier on his outstanding first-class form in the last 5 years or so, averaging around about 23 in England, in first-class cricket in England, after a couple of superb stints, particularly that 2018 season with Kent. 119 wickets now in first-class cricket in 21 games, average 19.7. So he has been very good in this country in red ball cricket, and in this spell starting to show it in the Test arena.
Yeah, outstanding. Neil Wagner then, red stain on the back of his trousers from shining the ball as he pushes away from the pavilion end. Here he comes, a left armour to Burns, leaving one down the leg side, raising his bat as it goes past his hip through to Blundell. 2 men out in the deep, leg side, deep backward square and fine leg on the boundary, just taking on some drink. Man at mid-wicket. They haven't had a mid-on to Rory Burns all innings. 2 slips and a gully in position then, and a Ringfield on the offside is Wagner circles at the top of his mark. Ball's full. Burns defends to the offside, no run.
Yeah, he's played nicely, Burns, holding this innings together. How the wheels can fall off very quickly, isn't it? We always say, always add a couple of wickets to a total, and that is why. England were sitting pretty, weren't they, at lunch? Would have been a bit of a flurry in the dressing room.
Yeah, when you think Dan Lawrence to come next.
Yeah, getting into it.
Yeah, didn't get another opportunity at Lords, having picked up a duck in the first innings as Burns drives backward a point. It was in the air, past that man at gully to his left as it hits the third man boundary now. Picks up a 4 then, but New Zealand were very much interested in that. 89 for 3. He moves to 41.
Yeah, it was wide. And it was foolish delivery. I mean, he's hit that on the up, really, through that sort of gully region. You know, sometimes you've got to think to yourself, well, if you fancy it, you go for it. But that was wide. That was wide. And England 89 for 3. That gets caught. And you just get the feeling, Isha, with this England batting line-up, don't you, that it can fall in a heap.
Leaves one outside the off stump of the bowling of Wagner, getting gentle shape. He was getting more prodigious swing prior to the lunch interval, Neil Wagner. Crowd in full voice, aren't they?
Yes, it's been lovely, hasn't it? Been lovely. It's early. It's an early. I was just saying to Dan, it's an early sing-song as well, isn't it? Just after lunch.
Don't want to peak too soon.
I reckon they've got excited.
Yeah.
They might have got a bit overexcited.
They've been saving this for a whole year.
Exactly.
Uppers.
Yeah. They just said, let's have it.
Their voices are ready to go as Burns back and across, driving to mid-wicket. Full delivery, zoning in on those pads. No run is taken. Yeah, they don't want to go too hard.
Not too hard,
too early.
No, play yourself in. It's a bit like opening the batting.
Yeah.
You know, get yourself to lunch, not to play too many shots, then become slowly more expansive as the day goes on. Go through the gears.
What gear would you say they're in at the moment?
I think they're in sort of third or fourth at the moment.
Approaching fifth as Wagner bowls full to Burns, driving nicely to mid-off, no run off the front foot.
He's a nimble little player, Burns, isn't he? When everything's moving nicely, he sort of looks like a little, sort of always light and on the balls of his feet, and that sort of lovely full face of the bat, just pushing it out to mid-off there, and sort of just that little sort of edge after it as well.
And the back leg follows as well.
Yeah.
As he plays the shot.
But it's not unbalanced.
Yeah.
You know, it's
leaning into it.
Yes.
And then,
and that's when he's playing well. Everything's in sync.
So, Ollie Pope Looks like he set himself up on middle stump. You know that he has worked on coming across to the off stump a bit more as Henry is through and off the pads down to fine leg. First run then for Ollie Pope. Is able to get that one away nicely. 90 for 3 then, England.
Yeah, not a huge fan of that. Don't like setting up on off stump from the batters. I just think it's a side-on game, and anything straight, he's got to play across that front pad early on as well, when you perhaps haven't quite, made all the adjustments for pace and what the wicket's doing. You miss a straight ball, you've got every chance of getting gone.
What guard did you take?
I used
Phil?
to take about a foot outside leg stump. Well, I ended up there.
As Henry bowls back of a length to Burns, pushing at the ball, but it falls in front of him, just lightly playing it down.
I used to bat on Midland leg. That's where I used to take stance, but my trigger movement wasn't onto off stump, it was on just outside leg stump. That was my trigger. I'd call it my trigger now.
What, backwards?
Yeah.
The backwards trigger.
Yeah, well, I was before my time, clear that front leg and access the ball, and you can hit it 360.
Yeah,
That would have been a very
of
good T20.
And how many times did you connect? As
Well, a few.
Burns crouches, open stance.
Oh.
Looks to pull, but misses it. In fact, he doesn't even try and pull it
Well, I
in the
just
end.
pulled out, yeah.
Yeah.
What about when you clear the front leg and the back leg tough?
Well, there you
What's
go.
the technique on that?
Usually fall over. Yeah, he just pulled out on that, I think.
He thought about it.
Yeah, he
Two men
did.
back in the deep on the leg side. As
It's got a bit big on him, didn't it? Might have been a bit risky if he'd have taken that on. A bit too high, perhaps.
the dark-haired Matt Henry shuffles forwards. And he comes with purpose. Another short one that Burns ducks underneath. So quick duck and jumps out of it as he makes his way to square leg.
Yeah, these two have got to get some sort of partnership going now. There's another one here, and as you say, Dan Lawrence.
And James Bracey.
Yeah, I mean, a couple of rookies, really.
Yeah, both with ducks at Lords as Burns bat angle towards gully. Defends outside the off stump this time. Trying to set him up with a slightly fuller one. Matt Henry as he turns and strides back to the top of his mark. A blanket of cloud in the distance. These have been good conditions for New Zealand and their swing seam bowlers. Lights on here. And Edgbaston as Phil Tufnell has made way for a Sir as Henry on an angle comes in, the right armour to Burns, again ducks underneath one. The back glistening, the light shining on it, and the ball going through to the keeper at the end of the over. 90 for 3. Burns on 41, Ollie Pope on 1. Welcome back, Alistair.
Yeah,
It's all happening.
it is. I've just been doing the old highlights on the TV and got 3 for an half an hour.
You
Not
need
a
to
good-
stem the flow of wickets now.
Yeah, not a good stint that for me.
You need a reverse stint.
I suppose New Zealand would be saying they got their rewards, weren't they, for the morning's effort
Yeah.
they put in. They bowled really nicely, beat the bat on a number of occasions. And yeah, it's amazing how quickly the game of cricket can change. And I think that's why we love Test cricket so much. It feels like every 20 minutes, every half an hour is so important. And I don't think England did too much wrongly. There was a couple of good balls. Zach Crawley's mind looked a little bit, like frazzled, as you would, I suppose, in one sense when you're struggling for a bit of form. And he's suddenly gone, and it's again a bit of another rebuilding job for these two.
3 slips and a gully in position for the left arm, Neil Wagner, bowling outside off to Pope, who leaves the ball.
Really looking forward to seeing Pope play. Actually, I've seen him score quite a few runs against Essex for Surrey, and I love how he plays. He's so attacking. He's, the margin for error for him as a bowler is small, because anything in that channel he's cutting, he's driving really nicely, and hasn't quite transferred that form into Test cricket. He's got that good 100, but he's averaging almost 60 in first class cricket. That's right up there, the top level.
Back and across for Pope, who's guiding it to gully, no run. But what do you make of his kind of shift in stance? Generally on middle and leg, and then moved across to the off stump. does take away his key shot, which is playing it square of the wicket on the offside.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen him do that really. So I don't. But you're right. That can create the problem about doing that is he relies on width, but he's so good at capitalising on width. So he might make it easier. I actually hadn't noticed it, so I need to really pay attention on this. But he's a fantastic player.
Looking to drive this ball full and wide of the off stump, but finds its way to Trent Boult at a wideish mid-off. Almost an extra cover there in that position.
Yeah, and you feel with his Test career coming in so early. I think he played a couple of games when I was still around, probably a little bit too early, and then he came back and then did well. Then 2 shoulder injuries, so he's had a bit of a run. He's definitely, he's got to be backed. He is England's future, but just the longer it doesn't carry on, don't quite transfer those runs in there, the longer that doubt in your mind is how good can you be at this level.
Wagner bowls on the stumps this time, met with a straight bat from Ollie Pope off the front foot.
But we all know that he's good enough. It's just a matter of time when he do it. But when you're the person and everyone's telling you you're good enough and you don't need to change much or anything, it's only a matter of time. The longer it goes on, the longer it plays on your mind, it becomes a bigger issue. You watch him play, you just know he will score runs. But that's for us sitting here without actually having to go and do it.
Couple of bat taps before he's still in his crease, back and across now as he works the ball to mid-wicket. Good net delivery on off stump from Neil Wagner. Arms raised in the air, zoning in on the pad. Walking back to his mark with intent, Neil Wagner. Sensing an opportunity here with 3 wickets having fallen after the lunch break. Light brown hair. Places the ball in his left hand as he shuffles forwards. Bounding in now on an angle. Bowls onto the pads. There's a half appeal. Given not out as Pope works the ball leg side, but it comes off the pad and they'll pick up a leg bye. So no review for that one. It looked like it was pitched outside leg, maybe just shaping back into him as well. Not much going for it. 91 for 3. Burns 41. Pope on 1. Andy?
Cricketers have just tweeted something about the swing Matt Henry's been getting since lunch. Almost twice the amount of swing in his second spell than in his opening spell today. Neil Wagner, on the other hand, swung it more before lunch than after lunch.
Yeah, well, I was thinking that actually. When I was on with you, Alistair, it looked like it was swinging early and quite easy to leave, whereas now maybe not doing as much. It makes it a lot more difficult.
Well, it seems strange, doesn't it, that one person's swinging it more, and maybe maybe the wind.
Yeah.
But then there's the wind, but they're both using the wind in the same way. But yeah, maybe just because it's slightly older ball, it's swinging slightly later, so that's why it makes from Trent Boult certainly swung it pretty much from the hand this morning. Henry could be swinging a little bit later, a slightly older ball.
3 slips waiting outside the off stump. He bowls, and that's left by Pope. Good leave.
Cricketers also point out that Ollie Pope has had problems against outswing during his Test career, averaging 19.6 against balls that have swung away from him during his Test career.
Pope positions himself in front of the stumps. Henry bowls full, driven nicely past a diving wideish mid-on. Comes back for 2, searching for 3, and they'll get it comfortably with the ball being pulled up inside the rope. Doesn't go all the way. A nice balanced drive from Ollie Pope to make his way to 4. 94 for 3 England.
It's a lovely shot, full face of the bat, showing the maker's name, just pushed down the ground, lovely bit of timing, and I think that was still the away swinger, so that's a lovely, to hit an away swinger through mid-on, you know that your technique and your balance and your alignment is all good. So that's he started well, hasn't he, without putting the moggers on him. He looks really compact and confident. That little 20-odd not out at the end of Lords, I think, has given him a bit of confidence coming into this game.
Burns, ponytail tucked in behind his helmet, crouches, dabs the ball to gully, no run. Another good length delivery, targeted on the stumps. A ripple of applause goes out around the ground.
You'd say that Matt Henry would be a better bowler to the right-handers. Is that backed up by the stats? Give Crick Viz or you to something to do results over there?
The left-hander Burns dips his head down, drives to a vacant mid-off. That's pushed out to the Birmingham end boundary. Chases on as it is retrieved inside the rope, and they'll come back for 3. Burns to 44, 97 for 3.
Yeah, it's been a good little counter-attack, hasn't it? I know that those 3 wickets fall quickly. Whether New Zealand just searching a little bit more for that 4th or 5th wicket, which really gave them a good standing in the game. England just countered. Pope's looked busy. He always does, but he's looked busy, and Burns has just carried on. He's in good touch, but just taking a little bit of the edge out of New Zealand.
Drama unfolding in the middle as Henry past the stumps, bowls seriously wide of the off stump. That was not even going to tempt Ollie Pope to try and get after it. Blundell diving away to his right. Now in the hands of Tom Latham, gives it a bit of a shine, tosses it to mid-off. Spins the bat in his hand, Ollie Pope. Batting on about middle there. As he gets back and across, leaves with authority. End of the over, 97 for 3. Burns on 44, Ollie Pope on 4. Andy.
Matt Henry in first-class cricket averages 22.9 to right-handers, 31.3 to left-handers.
So I was right then.
There you go. Have you taken him for a few runs? Is that what you're asking?
I actually can't remember my record against him, actually. I think I did okay. It's been interesting for Tom Latham here how long he keeps these two going. They've set, there's 40 minutes after lunch. It's muggy. I know Neil Wagner loves bowling long spells, so you could probably just plug it in. But Matt Henry hasn't played a huge amount of cricket. He's in some groove, but you don't want to blow him out too much because last session, is obviously the best time to bat. And I want to save a little bit of energy in.
Burns on strike as Wagner approaches. Nice gentle away swinger for Burns to leave. 2-man position back on the boundary. Trent Boult will be licking his lips, won't he? He'll want to go with this ball.
Yeah, he will. He bowled nicely. Again, it's that balancing act, isn't it? Do you, as a captain, do you just keep these guys going? And there's such a good groove. You've got England under some pressure, or do you then start looking forward? And then if they don't get a wicket, you take them off, and you think, did I go for the juggler enough? It's kind of that balancing act.
Burns drives to wideish mid-off. No run. Did think about it for a second there. Ollie Pope was charging down the other end, but sent back.
You were 102 for 1 against Matt Henry in first-class cricket from 31.1 overs. That's 2 tests and 1 first-class match.
When did he get me out? No, I'm curious. Was that a first-class game he got me out?
How could he get me out?
No, I'm not saying that. Jesus, this year, just bowl straight and I'm done.
2 slips and a gully for Burns, who gets back and defends the ball. Gully collects it. Strong breeze now blowing across the ground. Flags perched at the other end, going from left to right as we look at it. So for Neil Wagner, helping him with the away swing to the left-handed Burns. Wagner receiving the ball from Devon Conway. What a game he had at Lords as Neil Wagner pushes away past the stumps. Defended to the leg side. They come through for a quick single. Mid-wicket sprinting towards the ball. Trent Boult in that position as they pick up the 198 for 3. Burns to 45.
You were Matt Henry's first test wicket.
Oh, God.
Lords 2015. Great test match. He got you for 16, caught behind in the first innings as England struggled early on. Down the leg side, Cook
Oh, no.
flails a pull shot, according to the Cricket Info text commentary.
Bounced out maybe.
Made up for it with a 162 in the second innings as England claimed a famous victory.
Square leg just going out to the boundary for Wagner. So 2 men back on the leg side.
I knew that, so I was just waiting for you to bring that out.
There's a bit of a gap being created at mid-wicket as Wagner asks Devon Conway to move slightly straighter. He bowls wide of the off stump to Ollie Pope, who shoulders arms. 3 slips and a gully for him. Gentle atmosphere here. Afternoon at Edgbaston. 18,000 in.
We'll describe it gentle. It was quite rowdy for the first
Well,
half.
it was 20 minutes ago. It's just kind of quietened down a little bit. They've gone down a couple of gears as Wagner steaming in. Defended by Pope on the off stump. Good length delivery that he had to play. End of the over, 98 for 3. Burns on 45, Pope on 4. Just looking to take the sting out of this momentum that New Zealand have created. Bring themselves right into this match, having lost the toss and put into bowl. A few words from you, Alistair, and then it will be Alison Mitchell.
A great hour after lunch of cricket. It's been fantastic stuff from New Zealand, fighting back in the game. The ball swung, they put the ball in the right areas. Caused England probably just those kills, isn't it? 3 wickets in 20 minutes as a test batting lineup really knocks the stuffing out of you. And there's another rebuilding job to do. Actually, Burns and Pope have started it well. I'm really looking forward to hopefully watching Pope back this afternoon. Massive fan of him to get going. You plugged in yet, Ali? No, it's not. I'll have to take over as Matt Henry steams round the wicket. That's a word they get a lot, steaming in from around the wicket. Rory Burns pushes to mid-off and just goes for a wander down the wicket. That's not too hard, is it?
Have you got me?
I've got you now. Sorry, I just had a go at ball by ball.
Well done,
Oh, I
well
messed-
done.
Got words all wrong, but never mind.
Accurate enough. I'm with you. I'm
You're
with
back.
you.
Thank you.
Wow, that session after lunch and the crowd as well. It was pent up, wasn't it? The lid's been lifted on cricket crowds. Around the wicket, into Burns, a bouncer. Just flexes those knees, gets out the way, and the ball's sailing comfortably and safely into the gloves of Blundell behind the stumps. So 98 for 3 then. And Burns, his best is to keep that air of calmness about him, working his way up towards the 50 mark.
Yeah, it's always strange when you lose a couple of wickets and suddenly you're going on quite nicely. At the other end, no fault of your own, and suddenly the pressure all goes on you because you know how important your wicket is. You're the in batsman.
Henry is in, around the wicket again, full down the leg side. It's a good take by Blundell, diving full stretch away to his right and grabbing the ball just inches off the ground.
Yeah, you're the in batsman. You know all those meetings. Don't lose wickets in clusters, and England have lost wickets in clusters. Then you know you can't get out because that's not how you think. But suddenly the pressure just shifts on you out for no fault of your own, and it's the kind of like the way the game kind of evolves for no apparent reason. Suddenly you're cruising along 30 odd not out, no wickets down, and suddenly you're the guy under pressure 40, even though you batted lovely.
Now over the wicket, Burns forward. Defends up towards mid-off. And no run. Getting lively down there again. I think Neil Wagner was fielding on the boundary. He's down there. He's applauding the crowd in the Holly stand.
He's probably getting a little bit of stick as well, and he's kind of going back with a smile, trying to play, knowing Wags' his attitude. Absolutely loves it.
Good humoured
Great humour.
bowler as well, isn't he? I don't think he's getting anything too
No.
good humoured exchanges with the crowd. Henry in, and Burns is
Lovely
driving square of the wicket. That is imperious from Burns, 4 all the way across this lush green Edgbaston turf. Moves them on to 49. England 102 for 3.
Yeah, Matt Henry can't quite keep the pressure on the left-handers as well as he can the right-handers. Just striving a little bit with that in-swing over pitch and quite wide. And Burns, lovely shot. You see him leaning into it, back foot, back knee on the ground as he just timed the ball. Didn't hit it too hard. And he's one away from another 50.
It's a wonderful flowing stroke, wasn't it?
That's woken up the crowd again.
They're winning a half century for Burns after his 100 at Lords. Henry is in. It's a bouncer down the leg side. Burns isn't interested, lets it go through. So another over goes by from Matt Henry, who's taken 2 for 36. And it's 102 for 3, England. Andy, what was the collapse, that little mini flurry of wickets? I had 3 wickets for 12 runs. How many balls that happened in after lunch?
Yeah, it was, I think, 3 for 13.
Wasn't right with that.
In 3 overs and 5 balls.
Yeah, it was an exciting period, certainly for the New Zealand fans and for England. One of those moments in the dressing room when you're grabbing pads and bats and making sure you're ready to go.
It suddenly goes very quiet, after lunch everyone would be quite nice and relaxed, go back out there, good lads, go well, and there's be a bit of chat, and there's only 1 wicket falls, then 2, and then definitely silence for a little bit. I think this little partnership's just, everyone just sit back a little bit and relax a bit more.
Pope facing up to Wagner, pushes one wide across him from over the wickets and into the gloves of the keeper. Yeah, I commented to you earlier, off air as we were, that Wagner, he walks back to his mark with the air of a man who's catching a train. He has real purpose as he walks back to his mark.
Bustles back, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Played with him for Essex for a couple of seasons. One of the great blokes of cricket, a massive try. He used to run in for us on those flat wickets.
Pope crouches over his bat and stands tall. Wagner bowls it straighter on off stump, defending to mid-off, no run.
Yeah, when the ball got soft and not very flat wickets, but the tough times to bowl, sometimes an overseas player might come over and say, I'm not doing that hard work, I'm saving myself for international cricket. You couldn't take the ball out of his hand. I think he had more arguments with our captain, Ryan Tenduskarter, about him taking him off for one more over. And, as an overseas player, you can't guarantee runs, you can't guarantee wickets, but you can only thing you can control is your attitude, and his is just first class.
He's racing in again, full of purpose, full swinging into Pope, and he plays it off his legs, backward of square. Might be cut off inside the rope. He's scurrying back for a second run. It's only the 2. Throw comes in, fielding just inside the boundary rope. Another couple for Pope. He moves on to 6. 104 for 3.
Yeah, when we swap over, I had something prepared, and obviously I got a bit flustered. You taking your time and you think, a little shout out for Billinghurst Cricket Club.
I wasn't taking my time. I was here in plenty of time. I just could not get the. Yes.
Couldn't get it in.
Couldn't get in the slot. Here goes Wagner, bounding in full, clipped away through the vacant mid-wicket region. He's found the gap between the 2 fielders beautifully. Real chase on now for Conway to pull the ball back in, and Patel is backing up. He's not able to field it cleanly, and they can come back now for, is this the 3rd? 4th? No. Run 4. It's quite the chase back in front of the Holly stands. Good running, nicely timed stroke.
That's when you think all the effort a fielder is just wasted. He could have just stood there, let the steward throw it back, and he got the same result. But lovely shot again from Burns. Just drifted in, kind of searching for the magic ball, Wagner here, trying to get him LBW. And Burns' balance has been really good so far. Managed to, just a nice clip. Didn't try and hit it too hard or too square, which you can get in trouble. He went straight through mid-wicket and a lovely shot. Yeah, so I was saying, after you taking your time, Billinghurst Cricket Club coming back from their tour at Sidmouth, they've had a great time, loving the cricket.
Wagner into Pope again, pushed across him, stride forward, lets it go through to the keeper.
Yeah, just on their way back, so they've been loving the cricket. It's been exciting after lunch, so a little shout out for them.
Shouted out.
I have shouted it out. Got there eventually. After
Apologies for the delay.
For once, it wasn't my fault.
But yeah, talking about Wagner, I mean, he's played a lot of county cricket. Matt Henry's played a lot of county cricket as well, hasn't he? Like Kenton, Derbyshire, and because English conditions are not too far removed from New Zealand conditions, but yeah, just familiarity with the grounds. As Wagner sets off, running away from us, in now to Pope, again pushing it across him. He's not tempted to go after these with 3 slips lurking behind him. It's the end of the over. England 108 for 3. Burns will be on strike on 49 next over.
Yeah, and even just the Duke's ball, so different to Kookaburra ball, and it's. However much you practice back at home, I'm sure New Zealand will have Duke's balls they can bowl nets. Until you actually bowl in English conditions, in the middle with the pressure. So, Neil Wagner's renowned for bowling halfway down the wicket, isn't he? With the harder wickets in New Zealand, Australia, causing Steve Smith loads of trouble with the short ball. actually on these 2 wickets, wouldn't have been much profitable, you know. And actually, so he has learned to be able to bowl fuller. He's probably not quite as effective at it. He's probably world class at the bouncer length. He's probably not quite, say, in Trent Bolt's class of bowling the full swing, but because of experiences in county cricket, and he's been able to do it, and it was a fine spell. Him and Matt Henry have dragged New Zealand not back into the game as one way, but as in those 3 wickets are vitally important.
Yeah, and we're seeing the first change of bowling then since lunch, since those 3 wickets have fallen. Matt Henry is being given a rest, and Daryl Mitchell is coming back on from that City end. Burns 1 run away from his 50, 2 slips and a gully, swinging cover around a little bit squarer, mid off, mid on, mid wicket in place, and a catcher out at deep square leg. So Burns 49, Mitchell is in now full, angled out into the ground, into the hands of Gully, and there's no run. What you're saying about the Duke's ball and the Kookaburra, the Australians opted to use a Duke's ball for a certain part of their Sheffield Shield season, which always struck me as a little... I just wondered how effective that really was, because bowling a Dukes in Australian conditions is, of course, different to bowling a Dukes in English conditions.
Yeah, you're probably speaking to the wrong person about bowling
Well,
with
true.
him, but the scores were low, weren't they? The scores came down quite a lot, so...
Mitchell in now down the leg side. Burns looked to follow it, didn't make contact, and a tumbling half stop saves byes from the keeper.
Yes, so I think that the scores came low. I think it's probably more for the batsman to get used to the ball moving more. You know, the Dukes is, I would say, probably a fairer cricket ball in terms of it keeps the balance between bat and ball more even throughout the game. Kookaburra, you know, can get very flat after 15, 20 overs, and if you get in, you can go really big.
Burns 49. Mitchell in outside the off stump. Good carry through to the keeper, left alone by Burns.
You can go big, and you need something different. So, the Mitchell Johnsons of this world in Australia, Mitchell Stark, where actually, in England with the Duke's ball, it's pretty much if you consistently bang length and you can get in that group of area, you'll get your rewards. It might take you a bit of time to get it, but you're there or thereabouts. You bang the same areas in Australia with the Kookaburra ball, you're not getting the rewards. You need to do something different and almost take the ball and pitch out of it.
Mitchell in, Burns forward, angling it into the offside once more. Gully fields. And no runs, being pegged down on 49 for the moment.
Hence why you see bowlers, say, from that part of the world who are a bit different, slightly different actions, have to bowl quick because they won't survive if they don't. But then come to these conditions, might struggle to hit that area, and actually nicer to face with a bit more pace in the ball.
I suppose even for a bowler, just the way the Duke's ball feels in the hand is a little bit different with a slightly prouder seam.
Absolutely, apparently.
In goes Mitchell, he's there, up to the crease now, down the leg side, and Burns followed it, swivel, pull shot, but didn't make contact. Through to the keeper. Mitchell, we heard that half cry, hoping there might have been a very thin glove through to the keeper. Did you notice a few moments ago, Alice, just while you were talking, the song that was going around the ground? It was
No.
the Ollie Pope song, but it was your song, wasn't
No.
it? It was the Ali Cook. Ali Cook
With
has now
Ollie
become
Pope.
Ollie Pope. I mean, how do you feel about that?
It just shows I've gone on, That's it.
Time moves on, the game
Here
moves
it
on,
is.
the crowd moves on. I'm sure there's a few variations. It's Burns now as Mitchell's in, down the leg side once again, a one-handed diving take by Blundell. He's being kept busy down that leg side, that over. And Burns remains on 49 at the end of the over, 108 for 3.
It's been a tough day for me, isn't it? My record's gone for the most test caps, my Barmy Army
You've lost your
song's
song.
gone. What else is next? Someone's got my car now.
You'll get royalties every time they sing it. 10p in the post.
Oh, I wish. No, it shows how it moves on, and probably shows that, no disrespect to the Barmy Army, they've just got about 3 or 4 songs they repeat. No, what a
need some
great
new
atmosphere.
tunes.
What a great atmosphere.
It is, we've missed it. We really have missed the singing. Now we're going to have a change of bowling at this end as well. So the Wagner-Henry partnership is becoming the Mitchell from the City end and Trent Bolt back from the Pavilion end. Pope 10 not out and Burns on 49. This after Sibley, over after lunch, was caught behind of Henry. He made 35, added a boundary to his lunchtime score. That was 72 for 1. And then Zach Crawley came out, caught in the slips off Wagner, a 4-ball duck. And then Root caught behind off Henry for just 4. Here's Trent Bolt bowling full, his left arm over. to Pope, who's defending out to the offside, no run. So 72 for 1, 73 for 2, and then 85 for 3 in the space of 3.5 overs. Those wickets fell. Crawley's dismissal. Alistair, he made 2 in each innings at Lords, and a duck here. But it was when Wagner had just posted the fielder out to the deep. As Bolt is in, a full swing delivery into Pope. Drives it up towards mid-off, no run.
Yeah, I think what you're seeing was that Crawley's a guy who's obviously battling with his form, and then you start searching for stuff as a batsman. You keep looking for, how can I improve? How can I do this? And it's amazing. You start getting diverted away from what the most important thing, which is just watching the ball and trying to take the situation out of it. And someone like Rory Burns, who's in nick, he's finding that a lot easier. He might go through 10 balls not scoring, or 15 balls, but
Bolt bounds in. It's a leave from Pope, striding forward, letting it go through to the keeper.
And nothing flutters in because he's in a really good mind, in space, his mind, he's confident. And then Zach Crawley walking out there, probably today, for 3 balls, it probably felt 1,000 miles an hour. Probably in his mind, even though he's trying to calm down. I think there's a bit of a TV footage of him saying, watch the ball. And he just happened. He plays a poor shot. One he could have left, and indecisive, all the stuff you're going to say about it. It's just his mind playing tricks on him.
Bolt in, forcing Pope to play. He's defending out to the offside once more, no run.
And that happens so quickly, and you're gone, and you're sitting back down with your pads back in the change room thinking, what has just happened there? And you'll get to a stage then now where after all the demons fighting, you just, well, I can't do any worse, I'm just going to go out and play. I'm going to forget about that, I'm just going to go and play attackingly. Almost I can't use the word, it begins with F moment, where you just go, that moment, I'm just going to forget everything, I'm just going to go and bat. You've tried all this, and you kind of clarity again, you kind of get back on the upward curve. So how quickly you can get to that moment for Zach Crawley.
Bolt's in, Pope's driving into the ground and then into the hands of Point. He nearly threw the hands through it, offered a little bit of width by Trent Boult, and he fancied being able to pierce the infield through that offside. Hit the ball firmly into the ground and ballooned up. The hand of the fielder.
And another tough bit for Zach Crawley is he waited 2 hours to bat, only faced 4 balls. We thought, oh my God, how am I scoring runs here? Sat back in the change room to watch more runs scored, then go and field with all the atmosphere. It builds and builds and builds, and the intensity of the cricket, that's what gets you.
Bolt into Pope, full swinging in again. Defends up to Patel, mid-off, end of the over. Pope stays on 10, Burns 49, a maiden for the return of Boult. England 108 for 3. Cricket's such a mental game, isn't it?
And he's just got to then remind himself of, if the things he does really well, the simple things which he does, he can just go back to basics, try and strip that away. It's easier said than done, sitting in here in a suit and trousers or whatever. And I've experienced a little bit this year in county cricket and struggled to score the runs I'd like. And you start searching for things, even as experienced as I can be. You've got to just try and go back to your basics, and then just try and forget all the other stuff. And it, as quick as it goes, it'll come back quickly. It's not just say one shot. It's that half an hour, 45 minutes of batting, which gives you that rhythm. Get back in the rhythm, and everything will go. Oh, I can play again, but. For the moment, it probably seems quite a long way away from him.
There'll be another interesting juncture here with a drinks break, with England 108 for 3 and Burns 49 not out to again keep that concentration. So often you see a wicket falling after a break in play. Now we have some news from Sussex County Cricket Club to bring you. This is a statement regarding Ollie Robinson. Sussex Sharks are starting their Vitality Blast campaign over this weekend. Statement reads that Ollie Robinson will not be part of the Sussex Sharks squad for the team's opening 2 Vitality Blast fixtures against Gloucestershire and Hampshire Hawks on Friday and Saturday evenings. Ollie has decided to take a short break from the game to spend time with his family. It goes on, player and staff welfare, including mental health and well-being, is a priority for the club, and as such, Sussex Cricket fully supports Ollie in his decision. So just to reiterate and recap, Ollie Robinson has been suspended from international cricket pending the investigation. So while the investigation goes on as part of due process from the ECB perspective, he went back to join his county Sussex. And now the statement from Sussex to say that Ollie himself has decided to take a short break from the game. So no sense of Sussex taking action it's Ollie Robinson himself deciding to take some time out and spend some time with his family. So the testing period, certainly for all. And testing out there in the middle with those 3 wickets that have fallen quickly. Michael Vaughan has rejoined again, and we're going to have a change here because Aggers is coming in, Michael. But 108 for 3, we'll leave it with you.
Yeah, in the balance. New Zealand have been they've been good all day with the ball. Pitch looked a little bit sluggish in the morning session, and all of a sudden after lunch, I don't know why, maybe it was just a bit more effort, they got probably a better length and the ball started to do it a little bit quicker. A couple of decent balls. A player at number 3 in Zach Crawley just looks a little bit light of confidence, and obviously the big wicket of the England captain Joe Root just jabbing at a ball on and around that corridor. So a really good start by New Zealand after lunch. But this pair, Burns and Pope, the Surrey twins, have played nicely. They've played with good technique and have taken the scoring opportunities. But at 108 for 3, when you think of Mark Woodagger coming in at number 8,
Yes, I know.
New Zealand will be thinking, oh, we can grab another couple before tea time. I think they'll feel that they're in the box seat. Yeah, so I would just say that New Zealand are having the upper hand just at this stage.
Yeah, they've plugged away really well. A little bit of swing, preying on, well, Crawley's uncertainty outside that off stump. Root's a little bit of a soft dismissal, it's swung away a little bit. But 108 for 3. Burns very well set. 49. It's taken him a while to get this half century. They missed out twice in the previous Mitchell over. 2 men out in the deep on the leg side. There's a mid-on, 2 slips in a gully and a ring in the offside circle, as it were. There's the shaven-headed Mitchell. It's not quite one of the Mitchell brothers, as it were.
Close.
Yeah, he's not far off these days. Bowling from the City end, 108 for 3. Burns on 49, lots of gaps in the leg side. He lets that one go through outside the off stump. It's taken by Blundell, the keeper. He's replacing BJ Watling today.
A couple of sanitisers in the crowd, Aggers.
Yes, I was a bit disappointed, unfortunately, with my my description on television just now. I don't think it'll make the highlights.
No, I don't know. I think it will either. Never seen a pair of sanitisers as fancy dress before. Completely understand why now.
108 for 3. In comes Mitchell and he bowls. And that's forced away off the back foot. There's his half century. Great cheer from the Holly stand and around Edgbaston. As Burns. No, he's not taking his helmet. I thought he might be for a moment. He's in excellent form. He got 100 at Lords. He's reached his 9th Test 50 here out of 110 for 3. Some nice drives in that. It's what we missed last year, Michael, that noise. 110 for 3. Real celebration, actually, here. Mitchell comes in, bowls short. He's pulled that away out towards the Holly stand. Patel's there. He stoops and picks it up very easily, tosses it in. Those hand sanitisers. I thought it was rather a sign of the times. I mean, there can't have been a time before. You got your cavemen, there's some crayons, and I think there's probably a Pope or 2 in there, the usual suspects, but never seen hand sanitisers before, so well done them for coming in.
Yeah, it says what does it say on the top of the sanitizer? Pump me hard?
Yes, it got worse after that, and unfortunately I didn't see the pictures before I broadcast it. It won't make the cut, so there's no point mentioning it. I thought I commented it not rather well.
Oh, it was splendid.
Yeah,
You didn't quite read the bottom, did you?
It's on the editor's floor. In goes Mitchell, bowls outside the off stump. Pope lets it go through. Shame.
Also a shame, and Alistair Cook, it's a reminder that times move. You leave the England team 2.5 years later. Rory Burns, an opening bat, left hand, scoring runs, and the Barmy Army are singing the same tune song about Rory Burns that they did about Alistair Cook for many, many years.
Yeah.
Things move on quickly.
Yeah, the wheel turns.
It does.
111 for 3. Floodlights still on. I'm not sure if they're needed at the moment, but they're still burning brightly as Mitchell bowls. A beautifully straight driven by Pope. Quite get out of the middle of the bat. It is in a nice position for it. Picks up 1 there as mid-off dives. Is still flat on his back. 112 for 3.
Rory Burns' half century, his 1250 plus score in Tests. He has 300s amongst that against New Zealand. Now 2 centuries and 2 other half century scores in just 6 innings. Came from 141 balls with 5 fours. It's the slowest of his 1250 plus scores.
52 not out. Field changes round for the left-handed Burns. Still 2 slips there as Mitchell sprints in. A shortish run, bowls with a grunt. Burns waits, steers the ball calmly down into gully. And that's the end of the over. 112 for 3. Breeze rocking the branches of the trees behind the scoreboard down at the far end. A lot of building work going on here at Edgbaston, by the way. Sort of, the car park's all but vanished. So sorts of development going on. I think residential rather than anything to do with the cricket club as such.
What are you looking at? Over whereabouts?
Over to the left,
to
the
the
usual
left,
main car park. Yeah.
Next to the indoor school.
Yeah,
I wonder what that was at this point. I think it looks like an apartment block.
I think that's what it is. Yeah.
The single Burns got after his 50 took him to 1,500 runs in Test cricket in his 25th match.
Yeah, the average now just over 34. 300s, 950s, 45 innings. He started the summer well.
Bolt eases in, bowls to Pope, who comes forward, pushes the ball to mid-off.
Tends to play that defensive stroke with that bat side, that right side coming through as well. He almost walks into the defensive stroke. Ultimately balanced all the time, Ollie Pope. Such a gifted player, and it's such a chance this to get England out of a tricky position. Can get a big score. Not a great deal of movement now. Doesn't seem to be zipping as quickly as it did just after lunch. He's just got to stay patient.
Yeah, it'd be a great treat to watch him score some runs. Bolt bowls, so a little bit of swing, push, and then almost setting off for the single, but again looking busy. It's what we've talked about a lot over the last few days. The single wasn't on, but just the fact that he made that movement, the fielder's got to dart in, bowler's thinking, oh, is he going to score a run? The fielders are thinking, they don't need to come in a yard or two. All these sorts of things that just put a little bit back onto the fielders. Now, I mentioned Barmy Army trumpeter, and I think we've got a new musician. Of course, Billy Cooper retired last year. Bolt bowls short, and Pope dips a shoulder, the ball flies past his face and into Blundell's gloves. So Simon Finch is the new trumpet player. I don't know how many tours he'll complete or
I
anything
think
else.
there was some kind of like X Factor style.
Could have been.
Britain's Got Talent judging panel.
Bit of a play-off.
Yeah, you reckon?
Well, I assume Billy's going back into Matilda if it's coming on again now. But he was well, he started it up really, didn't he? The whole question.
Yeah, fantastic.
It was a wonderful job. 112 for 3. In goes Bolt. Left arm over, bowls to Pope. He gets a bit of a tangle. Just nudged the ball away into the leg side.
What do you say the new chap's called? What's his?
Simon Finch.
Simon Finch. So, welcome to the Barmy Army, Simon.
I caught a glimpse of him. He's got a silver trumpet.
Okay, and what kind of age are we talking? Is he quite
What, the
young?
trumpet or the trumpet player?
Well, I'd like to see. Can we both?
I'll see what I can find it. Do you not have to pull a sacred trumpet out of a rock to become the Barmy Army trumpeter, isn't it?
I would think undoubtedly it needs some sort of formal handing over of the reins, wouldn't it? 112 for 3. Bolt's on his way, bowls and a bit of width there, enabling Pope to drive, but again not well timed yet. So it's only a single.
What's the equivalent of a Barmy Army trumpeteers? So you kind of think in Test cricket, you don't really, until you've played 20 tests or you've got 2 or 3 Test hundreds, you've not really got that stamp of authority, have you, in the Test team? What does he have to do over the course of a few? A long day in Sri Lanka?
Well, it's got to do at least
in the
that.
heat.
At least that.
Yeah. Bangladesh, got to get to Bangladesh, doesn't he, and do a trip there?
I mean, Billy lost his mouthpiece in Sri Lanka. That was a nasty moment. He was bugling late in the night, actually in the sea, and his mouthpiece dropped off. So we were all in there on hands and knees trying to wade through the sea to try and find it. We never did. Still there somewhere off the west coast of Sri Lanka. Is Burns pushing forward, plays down the ground to mid-on, but they don't just accept any old body. I mean, they're proper musicians, aren't they?
Yes.
That's And apparently Randy Caddick is here as well, which is great.
I saw him.
He was the lone vigil on the fort at Gaul.
Yeah. I saw him in the middle of the Hollies earlier, and it was at the start of the day's play when they sing Jerusalem, and I saw this face with his, he's got the brimmer on, his sun hat, and I couldn't put a name. I know that chap, and there you go, it's Randy.
Randy Caddick.
Yeah.
I'm not sure it's his proper name, is it?
Well,
Randolph.
I thought he had a name completely different to that. That was his sort of Barmy Army name. 113 for 3. Pope's on 12. And Mitchell from the city end scuttles in. Shortish, straight approach. Bowls to Pope. Good length outside the off stump. Pope lets it go by. If you're just tuning in, well, there were no wickets down at lunch. But then a little clatter, actually. It all happened very quickly. They lost, 3 for 13. Sibley out, caught behind off Henry for 35. Crawley got a duck. Caught at third slip off Wagner. That was 73 for 2. And then Root, 4. Caught behind off Matt Henry as well. And now Mitchell bowls outside the off stump. A little bit of movement away. Pope lets it go by. And I see the man who is often compared to when it comes to Ollie Pope, Ian Bell's here. I saw this now, a shot on the screen.
he's got a nice beard, hasn't he?
He has got a
He's
beard.
got a nice suit on, nice and smart.
$113 for 3. Right, I'll be speaking to another Warwickshire great batsman during tea, a real old favourite, Dennis Amiss. Is going to be popping in. In comes Mitchell, bowls, and that's driven hard into the ground out to cover. And fielded by Conway, who's been very busy in the field today. Is Dennis actually allowed in here, do we know? Because yes, it's part of this building, isn't it? It's a bit complicated as to who can go where. That'd be nice.
New Zealand will be delighted with this because England really aren't going anywhere quickly. So all it's going to take is a half an hour period where they get a couple of quick ones.
Mitchell grips the ball, arms pumping, scuttles in, he's there and he bowls, and an ugly shot there from Pope, if I'm honest. The bottom hand came into that and he's cross with himself and immediately replays the stroke, which would have sent the ball through mid-off, but a little bit cross-batted there, but a bottom hand taking over and ball dribbled away out to mid-on. Here, Randy Caddick is Rob Lewis, that's his normal name. His DJ name is Randy Caddick, which of course he took up in Sri Lanka when he was very cunning. He positioned himself in Sri Lanka, thinking ahead, thinking of quarantines and so on. This one's clipped away through mid-wicket. Another bit of a howl there from Mitchell, because again Pope introduced a bit of bottom hand to this. It picks up 2 out to mid-wicket.
He's Rob Lewis. Interestingly, Andy Caddick's birth name was Ob Lewis. So, there we go. Stick an R on the front.
It's nice to know the England captain's father was listening to us, Agus. He just texted me saying Randy Caddick is Rob Lewis.
He knew that, did he?
Yeah. Well, he's part of the Barmy Army, isn't he?
Well, Hope, the England captain's mother, is busily rehearsing her shepherd's pie in practice at the moment because the contest is back on. In comes Mitchell, bowls outside the off stump, and there's no stroke. It's been postponed, unfortunately, from last year.
Well, sorry.
Very big shepherd's pie contest in the Beaver before the Trent Bridge Test
What,
match.
you against her?
It involves the Roots, it involves the Agnews, it involves those who listen to, watch East Midlands Today, and Davies. She'll be in there, and the Broads.
Right. So all making shepherd pies their own way, their own style.
And you do a blind taste. And
I guess the others blind taste it, or have you got
it.
people coming to blind taste it?
No, it's competitors only. But I got horribly stitched up last time. It was a 5-0 thrashing, but all because Stuart Broad's stepdad voted by mistake for the wrong one.
Well, so you've done it already.
Well, this was 2 years ago.
And it was shepherd's pie 2 years ago. Was it a different pie?
Shepherd's pie, but the Roots weren't involved then.
You got to change the pie. It's too easy.
You can't. No, you've got to keep learning a shepherd's pie. It's
the cottage.
It's a thing of beauty. It takes a lot of practice. In goes Bolt over the wicket. Bowls, and Burns comes walking forward and plays out to cover. But Mrs. Root claims she's got a mystery ingredient.
I know what it'll be.
Do you? Black pudding.
Yeah, there might be a bit of that. I would say she'll probably put Henderson's relish in it. From
Henderson's
Sheffield.
relish?
Yeah, it's like a Liam Perrins, but better.
Oh.
Andy, you know Henderson's?
I do. I did a stand-up gig in Sheffield. Someone gave me a bottle and challenged me to down it on stage.
And did you? Well, you
I
must have been good if they've given you that.
I downed one mouthful. I took it as a great compliment.
Yeah, if you get given a bottle of Henderson's, whew, you must be good.
Henderson's relish.
You must have made them laugh.
Here's Bolt bowling short, pulled away over mid-wicket. That'll go for 4. Out too deep mid-wicket. Not often that Bolt bowls a short one, which is deliberate. He's just giving Burns something to think about there to vary the length a bit. But Burns is on it.
Yeah, I've been impressed with Burns with the short. You go back to last week against Wagner when Wagner tried his short stuff to him and he was onto it quickly. Played the pull shot, the hook shot a few times into the ground. That was a tremendous stroke, onto it fast.
It's alarming who listens to this programme, isn't it? Maybe my account of Nick, Stewart's stepdad, voting for the wrong one was entirely true. It's on swings away outside the off stump. Burns lets it go by. Speak with forked tongue. That's not true, Nick. You know you voted the wrong one by mistake. 5-0. 5-0 thrashing.
I can't imagine you're that good at cooking, never mind. A shepherd's pie. I mean, it can't be that hard either. You just put it in a...
Shepherd's pie is really...
How hard can it be?
Oh,
Put it in the oven and put a bit of potato on top.
We shall
don't you?
find out. You can come if you're there at Trent Bridge.
Yeah, a bit of cheese on top of the potato.
You can come and bring your own.
Very easy. Went down to the supermarket, put it in the oven. Whew, there you go.
119 for 3. That's super. Bolt makes Burns play from the crease this time. Playing carefully to Conway at cover. No run.
And I think, I guess, just looking at Rory Burns, he's playing beautifully, but he's got to continue to work hard because there is still just a little bit there.
Yep.
And I think anyone that comes to the crease and, you know, is fresh from the dressing room, you can get an early one on this kind of wicket where your feet aren't quite going, you're not quite picking it up as quickly. So when you get in and you've done the work like Burns has done, he's got to make this count. He's 56. He's got to be thinking batting the whole day out.
Bolt again, very full leg stump. And there's certainly one here for Burns. A long boundary down there. Mitchell sweeps around, lovely tidy return, comes in. 120 for 3. He's England at the moment, still, you feel, have England.
What meat do you go
not
for?
Quite in check.
What meat do you go for?
Oh, I'm a mixture.
Mixture, dear.
Yeah,
Bit of everything.
beef and lamb.
Yeah.
But I have a mystery ingredient of my own. You can do what you like with your Henderson's relish.
Yeah, but it didn't work, did it?
No, this is a new mystery ingredient
New tactic.
that I've only recently discovered.
Strychnine.
No. No. In goes Bolt again and bowls down the leg side. And Pope can't get near it. It's going to be a clincher.
Yep.
I'll offer you truffle salt.
Oh, truffle, yeah. Truffle works with a lot of things, yeah.
That is going to give mine some real beef.
Try a bit of
120
truffle
for 3. I've got to go.
Try a bit of truffle on some chips. Very nice. Truffle fries. It's good cricket, this. Good cricket all round. New Zealand are holding in. They work on the ball so well. You can see who's got it now. It looks like, who do we have it at mid-on? Giving it a real good polish. Likely Will Young's giving it a polish. Throws to Mitchell. They're a good side that realise that the ball is so important. Got to make sure that you look after that shiny side. And England are hanging in nicely. This partnership is a good one. Burns on 57. Ollie Pope's doing the hard yards. He's on 14. Surrey, Dan.
Yes. Two very poetic names at the crease. It's poetry in motion out there. 120 for 3. Mitchell is in and Burns cuts at and misses this ball. That's a rather uglier stanza of the poem. To the keeper this day. When I was just listening to this conversation about shepherd's pie, and I mean, it's on a hiding to nothing. I've tasted Agassiz food. I had the misfortune of having to taste it in that sort of master chef type thing. Come dine with me.
Oh, yes. Lord's.
At Lord's, yes.
Yeah.
Where he was absolutely thrashed by Broad. I mean, Broad's proper.
Yeah, he's good. He's got all the tricks.
Yeah, he's proper culinary genius, that lad. As Mitchell is in, that's nicely driven by Burns to short extra, and there's no run. And then I heard him say, "Do you talk about secret ingredients?" He suggested he was going to put beef in it, was he?
Yeah, there's beef going in there, lamb, beef.
You can't put beef into a shepherd's pie. I mean, the clue is in the question. Cowboy pie, maybe, but you know, a shepherd.
Well, you throw anything in there,
It's
don't
hopeless.
you? It's all on the taste.
It is, yeah. Henderson's relish, though. It's a good suggestion. Mitchell in, and Burns pushes a full ball back to Mitchell. And there is no run. Burns, his prolific season continues. What's he up to? He's over 750 runs in the season, presumably by now, Andy. And just out of interest, who is nearest to 1,000? Imagine Beddingham at Durham won't be too far away, will he? He's had quite the season.
Good player.
Burns is 768, average now fractionally under 70. This is 9th 50-plus score now in 13 innings this summer.
Mitchell is into him. It's very full. Not that wide, but Burns is not tempted. A little bit of shape back in.
I think that's what shows you with Rory Burns playing, a few games of county cricket. He's the kind of player that just needs to get in sync with he's got lots of movements, which is absolutely fine. But I think by batting for long periods of time, you just get into sync and rhythm, timing, and with that kind of lots of movement, I think you do have to be in timing and in sync, and he's certainly in that for this series. That right foot's not quite going as far over that it was last year.
Here is Mitchell, and that's clipped away, not elegantly by Burns. It's sort of thick inside half of the bat, really, down to Patel, who runs in from the deep square leg boundary, and he gets a single, gets off strike, moves to 58, 121 for 3.
Yeah, I just look at him, and it just looks like he's got a nice alignment that allows him to play on the onside if it comes back in, and obviously he can then dip into those shots on the offside when it's out there to be driven or cut. Playing nice and straight, letting the ball come to him, just the basics of batting, which, at the minute someone like Zach Crawley, it's just eluding him because, he's probably just going scratching at the ball, wanting to try and get a few quickly because he's not trusting himself to hang around too long.
Mitchell into Pope, that's very wide, that should be given as a wide. I mean, Pope is not a tall man, that barely hit the cut strip and went further, but umpire has been lenient. End of the over, 121 for 3, 48 have gone. Burns 58, Pope 14. Andy.
In first-class cricket this summer, Beddingham of Durham has 787 runs, average 71. Then Jake Libby of Worcestershire, 776, average 64. And Burns is currently third for first-class cricket this summer with those 768, average 69.8.
And he has the power to add in this match, perhaps. I mean, one of the things I would say, Mike, is, people might be saying, sort of raving about Rory Burns. He's faced 154 balls, 25.4 overs for his 58. But actually, it's felt a bit more fluent than that, hasn't it? I mean, even the defensive shots are just, they may be finding the fielders, but there's a sort of determination, there's a positivity to the shots that's there. It's
well,
not
I just think
tentative.
he's playing the way that he plays, and that's absolutely fine. It's your job as an opening player is to hang around there and try and bat the day out.
Bolt starts a new over into Burns, and Burns firmly pushes up to mid-off. There is no runs. It's picked up by Matt Henry at mid-off.
Rory Burns is probably the kind of player that would need a middle order to be a bit more on the front foot, being a bit more aggressive. And Ollie Pope's tried. He's just getting himself set. But what you don't really want from an England perspective to get to that 80 over mark and you've not really done not much damage, and all of a sudden you lose 2 or 3 with that second new ball. You might lose 2 or 3 before that second new ball. So it's really in the balance with the score at the minute.
Bolt into Burns. Burns works into the onside. He finds that gap, picks up a single. Neil Wagner has to move from mid-on to his left to field. There's nobody else saving one on the onside, the deep square leg and a long leg. And with that, Burns goes to 59, 122 for 3, brings Pope back onto strike.
Yeah, someone like Ollie Pope is a huge key for England because he is a player that looks to get on with it. He's always trying to be busy. He's 14 off 41. He's given himself a chance so far, which is great. But I do think he is the player that can go up in the gears quickly. And if he gets an opportunity, I think he's waiting. I think he keeps looking to his left and sees Patel loosening up, and he's probably thinking,
Lighting him up.
If the left-arm spinner comes on, I might start to dance down a few times.
Well, Bolt's coming round the wicket. I think this is a good ploy from Bolt into Pope, who pushes this full ball into the offside. No run. Pope's had a few problems with the right armour, jagging the ball back in and trapping him LBWs. He's falling over and playing at the onside. When he's set up against the left arm over the wicket bowler, his stance is a bit wider. He feels more like the Pope of old. So Bolt is countering that by bowling round the wicket to him, and he's standing further across as a result. He's a little side on, and he gets just in slightly awkward positions from this angle does Pope. He's standing on his bat's tapping just outside off stump as Bolt is into him, and that's his perfect example. Speared in on middle and leg, and Pope looking to turn the ball to the onside. His head falls over, gets a thick outside edge. It squirts the backward point, and there's no run.
He's one of those players, Ollie Pope, is that I just love watching him bat. He just seems to. I mean, I don't think he's got the runs that his talent and his ability really warrants. And it's because he's made a few mistakes, but he certainly is the player that I think could have a long test match career and one-day career. I just think he's a very stylish, energetic, compact player.
Bolts into him round the wicket, left arm, and Pope solidly defends. Up to mid-off, up to Wagner, and there's no run. There's plenty to enjoy on the BBC Sport website. Text commentary with Callum Matthews on duty at the moment, and you can watch video clips of the action so far. Also, take part in the James Anderson quiz, where you can have a go at naming all 96 of his Test teammates. 96.
Yeah. Well, I was one.
Yes. So you'll be able to name that team that he was in. That'll give you a good start.
His first team. Yeah. I think I played in his first Test against Zimbabwe.
Bolt's coming in to complete his over, his 13th. Oh, that's speared in on middle and leg, and Pope gets, I say, a thick inside edge. Ball rolls down to long leg. This is where he just looks a little bit vulnerable. End of the over, 123 for 3, Burns 59, Pope 15. How many overs has Bolt bowled in this spell, please, Andy?
4.
4. We had long spells, didn't we, from Wagner and Henry straight after lunch. 6 overs each. Now Mitchell and Bolt. So what have we got? We've got half an hour or so to go till tea. You'd expect to see a bit of spin. Then you expected to see Ollie Pope charging down the wicket.
I would think Ollie will be quite proactive against Patel. I think what's going on. So it's like Williams getting his shin pads on. So I think the spinner will replace. Is he going to replace?
Oh, he's going to
Mitchell. He's going to come. Yeah, he's going to change the end. Yeah. So yeah, I think Ollie Pope will be busy, but he's just got to make sure his eyes don't light up too much.
Yes.
Just wait for the right ball. But he'll certainly try and get after the spinner.
Well, I mean, he had a tough time against the Indian spinners, but very, very different circumstances, different pitches, different spinners. I mean, they're just quicker, aren't they, Indian spinners? And perhaps that makes them less effective in England than they might be, but they're certainly effective on
I think on those pitches in India, it suited the firing spinner, didn't it? Just kind of fire it in, and the pitch did the rest for you. When you travel on, better pitches where it's not, particularly on day one, where it's not spinning anything light, you've got to just vary your pace and change your angles. You can't just fire it in.
So we're going to get to see Patel bowling towards us this time. This very economical approach. It's not really a run-up. It's as if he's sort of conducting an orchestra, and his first ball is cut away by Pope off a thick outside edge. He's going to run down to the third-man boundary for 4. It was a wide. It was there for the cut. He didn't execute it quite as perfectly as he would have liked, but there's a huge gap between point and slip, and he picks up 4, moves to 19, 127 for 3 more. Live cricket follows us this evening at 7 p.m. with commentary on the London Derby in the T20 Blast. Every ball of every county game live on the BBC. Here comes Patel once again. Down the wicket comes Pope, and he just works his full ball into the onside. Mitchell tidies up, and 27 for 3. Michael Vaughan has left us. Jeremy Coney is plugging himself in away to my left. Now then, there's a touch of the Alex Hart least of the way Ajaz Patel comes in. There's a sort of hands come together, and then the left hand shoots in the air, and then he fires his full ball into the pads of Pope, who just opens himself up, pushes to short extra cover, and there's no run. A slip in, a forward short leg, backward point, short extra. Here is Patel, and then it's cut again and gone, edged and gone. Well. It felt like it was there for the shot, but Pope, I'm afraid, has got to go just as he was starting to look fluent. It was fired in outside the off stump. He went for the cut, and he's gone. We're just going to see a replay of this now, and it was imperfectly. It's just a little top edge, and he's gone. I think quite. Did he get a bit more bounce than he was expecting?
Yes, and I think also just leaning away from the shot as well. to create some room, which suggests that it's just a little bit close to him to play that stroke. Normally the weight's coming over the front foot, isn't the back foot there, and to come down on it, he was leaning back to create room for himself. So maybe just misread the line of the ball a little bit. It was short enough, I felt, to cut. He'll be very disappointed, won't he, after having to work hard for about 50 deliveries, has worked his way into a position where he could start to play naturally, but we didn't actually get to that part.
No, we've seen it a bit with Pope, actually getting in and weathering the storm and then getting out. And as you say, he'll be furious because it was a sort of ball, it's a kind of nothing ball that shouldn't have taken a wicket, is how he'll feel about it. But you've got to give a bit of credit to the bowler. It bounced a bit.
And also maybe the captain, sensing that Pope, would like to play a few shots. He's a natural stroke maker, and maybe just feeling this could be it's worth having a look at. Could have gone the other way, of course. Even the first stroke he played, he showed his enthusiasm to play shots, didn't he? And only went probably a yard wide of the slip and away to the boundary.
Well, it's huge pressure on
Timely
England.
wicket, though.
Really is. 127 for 4 now as Patel is in. His first ball to Dan Lawrence is full and is defended back up the wicket. There's a lot of pressure on Lawrence as well. His technique came right under the microscope in the last match. You'll recall he was out flailing at a wide one off his second ball, caught at third slip by de Grandon. Here's Patel into him. And he drives into the offside. It's fielded by Conway in the covers, and there is no run. End of the over, successful one for Patel and for New Zealand. And England, having begun the session on 67 without loss and eyeing up a sort of comfortable 270 for 3 at the close, they're 127 for 4 now, with a long tail, with no all-rounder, with James Bracey, who's faced 9 balls in his Test career and didn't get a run off any of them, due in next, and then the likes of Stone and the other bowlers. So New Zealand will be eyeing up this rest of the day. They'd love to get England all out not long after tea.
So Ajaz Patel's 23rd Test wicket in his 9th match, but his first outside Asia. 22 wickets in 5 Tests in Asia, in Sri Lanka and against Pakistan in the UAE. He's played 3 home Tests, only bowled 49 overs without taking a wicket. So this is
the Asian specialist. It's only where we send him. He doesn't play in New Zealand at all.
It's a bit of a graveyard for spinners, it seems to me, at the moment. Bolt is going to continue, not surprisingly, and he's into Burns. Ball's really full, right into the block hole, and Burns digs it out. This is there. We keep saying these moments are crucial, but you just sense Bolt staying on here because there's an end open with Lawrence having come to the wicket. And there's a feeling they could barge through the door here.
Much better second spell of Bolt too. I think he's looked much more consistent with his line and just outside the off stump of both the right-hander and the left-hander, so able to adjust. He's bowled over and round. He's starting to get back into, I think, the sort of performance you get from Bolt later in the day with a slightly older ball.
Here he is, the left-handed Burns, who thinks about playing at a ball that swings away into the gloves of Blundell. It's moved all day for the New Zealand bowlers. It's just been maybe a little bit later and on a tighter line since lunch, which has helped.
He just looks more comfortable, even Saddle sounds silly, but even walking back, just into a rhythm, not rushing himself, not racing back to get to his mark and then herring in at all. He's just, it seems to me, starting to pick up the rhythms of the longer game a lot more.
When did he last bowl a red ball in anger?
Well, 6th of January.
Here he is, and Burns drives, thick inside edge, rolls out into the onside. Wagner moves from mid-on to field. Burns picks up a single, goes to 60 on 28 for 4. And so how long has he been in the country? Because he wasn't selected for Lords, so...
He came during the Lords Test.
Came during the Lords Test,
yes. Yes.
I'd still have jet lag, you know, if I think a week.
Well, where have you flown from?
Whenever I've had, where did
London.
Where? If I go to Australia, it takes me about 13 days before I feel even remotely sane.
Well, that's because of that heavy drinking you do on the plane, perhaps.
I feel this is workplace bullying, Jeremy.
First thing you said to me when you arrived at our hotel, bad news, Jeremy.
Yeah, well, that's true. I did do that, yeah. Bolt is in. Oh, big appeal for LBW. I think that'll be missing off stump, but they may have a look at this. It was a tentative prod forward by Lawrence. The question is, has that ball swung back into the pads enough? They
Looking for it, yep.
They're going to have a look.
Question was there two noises, or was that bat hitting the pad trying to get access to the ball?
I think this is marginal, basically, at best, all round. There's a lot of things that are going for it, a lot that might not.
Yes, he's a tall man, as Lawrence, and he's got forward to this one. Slightly... that's hit the back? Is that hit the back?
Yeah, but I think we're going to find the impact is outside or umpire's call. I think that's what we're going to be finding out here.
I think
Yeah,
it's
clearly pad first.
Yes.
So ball tracking when available, please.
It's hit the front pad.
Then the back pad.
and
That's
then-
your two
but
noises.
Yeah, but that's then obviously deviated onto the back pad from the front pad. Where is it
Okay,
hitting?
ball
it?
tracking
I think
coming up
maybe
now.
outside. It's got
Yes.
to come back more, just outside.
Pitching outside off. Impact is outside and missing the wicket. So stay with your original decision of not out, Richard. I'll let you know when you're on screen.
Quite close though. If
It
you'd
was.
given that out,
You're on screen
it
now,
would have been
Richard.
still
You can signal
not
now.
out, but not much between the outs or the inside of the ball and the off stump.
It was a good decision by the umpire, but it'll worry
Was.
Lawrence when he looks at that, and you can see why Bolt went for it, because he knew he was bringing that ball back into the pads of Lawrence, and he just thought that feels right. When it came out of his hand, it'll have felt right, and he wasn't far wrong from being right.
Just a little wobble to the seam. It would have come more if he'd got the better release.
Bolt in again, down the leg side, very full, really trying to fire the ball into Lawrence's pads, goes through to the keeper. They're aware that Lawrence likes to hit the ball a lot in the onside. His bat comes through most extraordinarily. If you see the replay of that, Jeremy, what's Lawrence's bat makes
Well,
most
when you get your
extraordinary shape.
pads on off stump, the same as Pope does, your bat to get at the ball, if it's straight, where does it come from? It must come from outside your pads, and therefore you play across the ball.
Here's Bolt to complete the over. Lawrence facing two slips, and it's on the pads in the air briefly, but he's going to get off the mark. Lawrence with a tuck into the onside. He will keep strike for the start of the next over, which will presumably be bowled by Ajaz Patel. England, they are in a spot of bother to say the least. They're 129 for 4. Burns still there. He has 60. Lawrence has 1. More thoughts from Jeremy Coney, and then it will be Alison Mitchell to take you up to tea.
Well, it's been an interesting session, has it? And for the match, I mean, it looked as if Sibley and Burns were going to sort of continue on untroubled, as they were really throughout the first session. There wasn't much happening for New Zealand, but straight after lunch, those 3 quick wickets, bang, 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 like that, including the captain, Root, and suddenly New Zealand were back in this game. Ollie Pope kind of held it up for a while for England. Burns has soldiered on in a very manly kind of way, but now with Patel introduced, Pope has disappeared, and now once again England just threatened slightly at 129 for 4.
Hello, Jeremy. Here is Patel around the wicket and coming forward is Lawrence, and flick of the wrists and to work it up to mid-on along the ground. Finds Wagner. And no run, slip and short leg in place. How the complexion changes
Yes.
in a short space of time. This afternoon session, wonderful for New Zealand. Patel in, coming forward. Oh, he's missed, and there's quite a stumping chance. His foot was behind the line, but taken quickly by Blundell and making the motion as if to take off the bails. But certainly coming forward, and big drive, expansive.
Very big drive, and beats the outside edge. Blundell there, very interested as well. Didn't lose his balance.
Patel around the wickets and missed it again, past that outside edge. He's got a big stride forward. Lawrence this time, Blundell does remove the bails, but that back foot wedged behind the crease.
That's lovely bowling. That's a slower delivery. It's therefore slightly shorter, and it's beaten the outside, this time looking to attack initially and then defending, and he's beaten on both shots.
There's a wonderful turn for him, isn't there? Grip off the surface. Patel in. Didn't pay a shot that time, Lawrence. Into the gloves of the keeper.
Now then, that's let go this time. Now, will Patel go to the ball that just keeps on coming in to the stumps? Just a little arm ball. And what will Lawrence do if he sees that?
Patel in, quicker, flicking it past short leg. It's along the ground, and Lawrence sets off, coming back for the second. Picked up by Conway in the deep. And 2 runs safely negotiated, 131 for 4. Lawrence on to 3.
No arm ball, just a
Not
bad
yet.
ball on the leg stump. So again, it's just these little inconsistencies for New Zealand that just are costing them. Let's see how he goes now. It looks to me as if he's setting up for another, just an orthodox delivery.
Little mini periods of pressure, even little passages of 3 deliveries. Going back this time, stroking it out through the covers, and he's found the gap wide of the cover fielder, who won't catch up with the ball as it reaches the rope. So Lawrence forcing shots off the back foot, moving on to 7, 135 for 4. After an over in which he was beaten by Patel.
Yes, but he survived, and a good stroke at the end to just a little shimmy outside, almost leg stump because of the length, creating a spot to hit through the offside. He got good contact on that, and even though Nichols, who's one of the quicker players in the New Zealand side, was chasing hard, he couldn't catch up with it, fell in behind it. So well done, Lawrence. You'll feel better with that.
Is this Wagner coming back on? It is. It put more left arm angle from this pavilion end. So Burns is unbeaten on 60, Lawrence on 7. 135 for 4 coming together after the fall of Ollie Pope, and is looking to cut the spin. Almost caught by Blundell. He's got 3 catches in the innings now. Blundell having come into the side for BJ Watling, dismissing catches to dismiss Sibley, Root and Pope. Now, I heard Dan mention just before I came on, Jeremy, about how Patel has a run-up a bit like England World Cup winner Alex Hartley. I don't know whether you've heard Alex's podcast, have you? The No Balls podcast she does with England seamer Kate Cross.
Right.
Opportune moment to mention.
Walks into bowl, but I mean,
just that bit of the waving of the arm as she comes in. But
okay.
she's bringing
what to people behind her?
Well,
Yes.
bit of a.
Yeah, okay.
But she's bringing their No Balls podcast to BBC Sounds.
Oh, okay.
If you can get that app on your device, and actually their first episode will be next week, so they're coming to the BBC podcast family. Chris Wokes is on the show. Wagner then, new over on the off stump, and Burns defends into the onside, and there's no run. Andy's looking like he's poised.
Ollie Pope's worrying recent form. Been looking at his recent score since the start of the India series. He missed the Sri Lanka series injured, but in 11 innings he's reached double figures 10 times, but only once made it to 30, and that was a score of 34 in Chennai. So a lot of starts for Pope, but he's been unable to convert any of them to even 50s.
And so much promise to be fulfilled. Keeping a little low outside the off stump, through to the keeper. No shot offered by Burns.
Yeah, he just seems, I don't know, I don't like to use the word lost because that's not true, but just finding a method that he can score runs at this level. Just, to me, I thought today that he actually worked quite hard to get to whatever he got, and was just starting to think, now I can start to perhaps play a few more shots. He just rushed them again, didn't he? Looked for something that wasn't quite there.
2 slips in a gully for Burns. Face it to Wagner, working into the onside. A tumbling stop by Bolt and no run. And that pressure does build then, doesn't it? And
yeah,
you go searching.
You know, so often you think about Pope trying to play, and he's away so quickly. I watched him the year before actually, for Surrey, coming out, and I know it's a helpful surface to bat on, and I know it's not quite the same standard, but he just came out and, you know, keep driving and so on, and got away quickly.
Wagner into Burns, playing up on his toes outside the off stump, defending it back up the pitch, and Wagner picks up in his follow through. Yeah, he can be a real sort of nuggety but flowing batsman when he gets into his stride. It's a firm ball, runs quickly between the wickets.
Well, he will crack it. There's no doubt about that. He's certainly been identified, hasn't he? There's a number 5 or a number 6 for England, and they have been prepared right throughout the last winter to play him in those positions. He's the only young one who has been there.
Burns awaits, and Wagner's in on his pads, and works into the onside where Bolt is fielding mid-on, picks up, and there's no run, gives the ball a shine on the chest of his shirt. But yeah, Dan Lawrence now, every time he comes out, sort of the two of them vying for a spot in the middle order for, Ben Stokes is coming back at some point, so there's a lot of...
Well, and Butler.
Yeah,
He'll come
absolutely.
back.
Yeah, absolutely. Wagner turns at the end of his mark. A few little pockets of blue sky up above, peeking through the white cloud here as Wagner's in. Over the wicket, some width, and Burns is driving wonderfully for 4. They'll love this in the Holly stand. They rise to their feet, arms aloft, as the ball reaches the boundary. And that was a flourishing drive. Burns on to 64, England 139 for 4.
Yeah, just a little bit of flourish outside the off stump from Burns. He's in such good nick at the moment. Seems to be picking the ball up nice and early, whether he can attack it or not. Must be quite hard for him to get it just in front of square as he did there with that grip. It's harder to drive square with that bottom hand right around, but gosh, he timed that very nicely indeed.
Between overs, Jeremy, here, I'm afraid I've got a little bit of unfortunate news for you. You remember this morning I offered you a lift into the ground tomorrow?
Yes.
I had a bit of off-field drama between my last commentary stint and this.
What, with the car?
Even though it's down in the car park and I'm up here. Patel is in around the wicket and Lawrence is stroking him out towards points through the hand of Wagner, able to complete the single.
What,
So
no-
I'm not driving my usual car. I'm just getting all the caveats in now.
What, you mean you have two cars?
No, I have a
Not
hire
your usual,
car.
and you just treat that with disdain and leave it at home.
Just as the mood
Yes,
takes
of
me.
course.
But no, so I have a hire car here, which is a hybrid. I am getting all my excuses in early. So I'm not used to driving a hybrid. They have very quiet engines. As Patel's looking to come over the wicket now for Burns. He's taking off stump guard. So I parked it in the car park this morning and just had word when I came off commentary.
You haven't put the brake on, have you?
Left the engine running. I mean,
You left the engine running.
the engine was running, but I had the keys with me, which perplexed me. As Patel's over the wicket now, and Pope, flick of the wrist working past, short leg. There's a catcher at short mid-wicket as well. He finds mid-wicket and there's no run. Slip is in place too to Patel. So this is one of those vehicles which has a big on-off button.
Yes,
to
I-
the side of the
I know what you're talking
steering
about.
wheel.
I was given a hire car too.
Patel in, forward comes Pope. Burns rather, to mid-off, no run.
I was a little sharper, I'd have to say. I managed to open the door finally.
Well done.
Yeah, and then I spied this little button.
Because were you looking for where to put the key in the ignition?
Yes, I was.
Patel is in.
Well, it's not
Into
a
the
key.
ground.
It's not a key for a start, is it?
Is it a fob?
No, yeah.
It's a fob.
And so you look for the button, and I know most people will be. I don't drive a modern car. I requested a manual.
Oh, I'd be happy with. I'm very happy with the manual.
Me too.
The hybrids are good for the environment, so I wasn't displeased by that. On the drive, the onside single, the tumbling stop at mid-on. Burns on to 65.
But of course, once you press the button, which is on to start and so on, it still doesn't start. Of course it doesn't. No, it's not as easy as that. Press on, start. Not at all. You've got to have your left foot on the brake or your right foot over the other side to the passenger.
And the handbrake's not a handbrake, it's just a little flick of the switch.
Exactly.
Patel, couple of paces, that's all. Around the wicket he goes, and Lawrence gets well forward to it, defending it to mid-on to end the over. 141 for 4, England.
And the gears, of course, are really where the indicators are in New Zealand.
Oh,
So it's quite dangerous, actually, because you're going along and drive, and suddenly you go wanting to turn right.
So you have
well,
a
up you
hybrid
go, and
manual.
suddenly you're in reverse.
You've got a hybrid manual.
I haven't got a hybrid.
Oh, it's not okay.
No,
You've got a
no,
manual.
I've got a Mercedes.
Oh, well, very nice.
Well, it is, but I was rather frightened of the whole trip over here. I've aged. Can't you see this hair? Unbelievable.
Other cars with multiple gear sticks and buttons are available. So the upshot is, I'm thinking what happened was that I parked the car, and because it was a hybrid, the engine was just so silent. When I parked it and I braked it and I handbraked it, and then took my keys and exited the vehicle, and even locked the vehicle, presuming I locked it. But
car really...
I couldn't actually hear that the engine was still
If
going.
it's that smart, you've
Well-
got to turn off. Surely.
This was what I was thinking. The car is not as clever as it makes it itself out to be. New over, Wagner in now to Burns, comes forward into the onside. Bolt is there to field, no run, 2 slips in a gully still. So the upshot is I have a flat battery.
Right.
So
And they're
unless
quite
that can
large,
be rectified
quite
between now and
large
tomorrow
batteries
morning.
too, I'd have to say, those.
Well, they recharge by driving on the petrol. So when
I understand.
Yeah,
But if you've got no... So someone's going to need a very long electrical hose to come in and recharge your... I'm sure someone will be doing it now, just as we suggest. We're throwing out these distress signals.
Or I'll be here till 8 o'clock tonight. Wagner in, there's a short ball, and swivelling was Burns. He hasn't got hold of it. Tumbling take by Blundell down the leg side. He's got deep square leg out on the boundary. Wagner as well. Fine leg is back as well. So we might see a couple more short deliveries, perhaps just the occasional one. And when the ball's been swinging, he's preferring to keep it up.
Right, so no trip tomorrow. And I've given my car back.
Oh, have you?
Oh, yeah, I can't handle it. It's far too modern for me.
All right. Well, who are we going to get a lift
Well,
in
I'm
with
going to
then?
walk.
Okay.
I'm going to walk, or Dan's carrying me. Perhaps also...
Wagner racing in, bouncer again. It's a one-handed take, leaping Blundell, taking it above his shoulder, left alone by Burns. But so certainly the change of tack. Results.
They're not find your horse, Jeremy.
Well, that's Dan Norcross as far as I'm concerned. Saddle him up, away I go.
We can put the distress call out for a horse.
Yes, we could.
See if one turns up.
I wonder if you need a key.
It's only an on-off button. Wagner racing in again. Fuller, hint of away movement and off the pitch. Just a touch into the gloves of the keeper. Burns not offering a shot, not chasing it. Still playing with discipline, but leaping onto a shot if he's able to, if he's given that opportunity. Yeah, so it's a learning curve for me in vehicles today. But walking, well, that's a good option if you've got the time and you can leave early enough.
Well, you left early today.
Well, I did. I was in at 8 o'clock to record the BBC Stumps podcast. That's out now. Wagner goes in, short ball, and he's withdrawn at the last moment. Burns shapes if he might go after it. Let it pass, all right, chest height through to the keeper.
That's more like Wagner, isn't it? Now we feel a lot more, just everything's all right with the world. When Wagner can bowl that kind of delivery, all right, it was called 2 for the over. But it looks to me as if this pitch is just responding a bit more, and he might well, later on in this game, be able to bowl that kind of delivery. New Zealand will be happy with that.
Burns on 65, leans forward, Wagner in bowling full, outside edge of the bat. He's got it past Gully, who was diving. Ball's angled down into the ground, 4 down to the third man boundary. Wagner's got his hands on his hips because he found the outside edge of Burns' bat.
Yeah, but Neil, I think it was actually quite deliberately played. It was allowed to come to him. He's opened the bat and just let the ball strike the bat and controlling it and keeping it down. It could easily have found one of the slips cordon, but it was never going to be a chance.
Nichols putting in the despairing dive from Gully. He's on to 69 now, Burns. 145 for 4 at the end of that Wagner over. Lawrence with him on 8. This after Sibley was out for 35. Crawley 0, Root 4, Pope 19. That all in this afternoon session. Just a note on the Stumped podcast, as well as talking about the social media, the tweets, the anti-discrimination movement, everything that's happened in the last week. It's a very interesting interview with Nick Hockley, who is now the permanent CEO of Cricket Australia. So he's talking about the possibility of England fans being able to travel out for perhaps the back end of the Ashes, so early 2022 that would be. And also potential conditions of what they're planning for and the contingencies for the players themselves. Will they be living in a bubble? 14 days isolation? And then could it be freedom or will it be bubbles? But they're, again, planning on all contingencies. Melbourne is still in a lockdown, about to come out of lockdown. In fact, they might literally by now be out of it. Slip and short leg in still for Patel. And Lawrence whipping it away along the ground, behind square, towards the fine leg boundary. Chase is on, the ball will be picked up. And Lawrence coming back for a second. And Conway fielding inside the rope. 147 for 4s. The Barmy Army finding their voice again. And they know just with a couple of minutes till tea, to encourage these two and make sure that they at least are there. England don't go 5 down just before the break.
Lawrence looking for one off the back foot again. That short ball that Patel's offered up.
Patel around the wicket he goes. Lawrence forward. Works it to mid-off. Shapes to play an aggressive stroke, Lawrence. Even when it's defence, it looks like very intentional defence. It's looking to score always. He's on to 10 now. It's double figures. Catch is still there. It's short extra cover. Patel in off the back foot. Work to mid-wicket. No run. Mitchell is there. Still been a muggy day. Cloud has nestled over Birmingham. Really a little bit of a breeze, but not much to be moving this cloud on. Pockets of blue sky. Crowd been in good voice throughout. Really feels like Test cricket is back. Patel's in. A little more air this time. Left alone by Lawrence. Into the gloves of Blundell. He's up to the stumps for the spinner with the helmet on. Ross Taylor. Still there at slip. Arms folded. Lawrence just to wander down the pitch, exchanging a word with Burns before settling over his bat once again. As we approach tee, Patel in, a little quicker off the back foot, out towards cover, taking a quick single, throw comes in, it's the gloves of the keeper, and they're safely through for the one. One more ball left in this over. Is there going to be time for one more before tee? Well, Patel's taking some time with his field, in fact, but also we've got Rory Burns adjusting gloves. Oh, well, Point was going back, he's gone deep, now he's come back in again. But I thought New Zealand would want an extra over before the break. Patel over the wicket to Burns, goes back and nudges it fine past the keeper, down to the fine leg boundary. There's nobody there. Trent Boult is racing around the boundary. Sorry, it's Wagner, but he won't cut it off. And it's 4. England passed the 150 mark, 152 for the loss of 4 wickets. That's been the issue in this afternoon session. Burns 73, Lawrence 11. So will we have one more over? No, umpire's removing the bails, and New Zealand, I'll tell you what has confused me is New Zealand walking off in the other direction towards the far side of the ground. So the 2 batsmen are heading back towards the pavilion, and it looked as if New Zealand were getting set for another over. So it is tee, and what a session for New Zealand. 4 wickets for 85 runs in the 27 overs. Burns and Lawrence still out there, and Rory Burns within sight of a second century in as many matches. He's still got some work to do though in the 70s. But for New Zealand, they've dismissed Sibley, Crawley, Root, Pope. That is a job well done for them. And so after tea, Burns and Lawrence coming out to resume their partnership and see if they can take England through to the close in a healthier position, but winning the toss and opting to bat. Things looked very healthy at lunch. England 67 without loss. But Sibley was caught by Blundell of Henry, looked uncertain whether to play or leave, caught by the keeper for 35. He added a boundary to his lunchtime score, that was all. Zach Crawley came out under some pressure after 2 single-figure scores at Lord's. He was out for a 4-ball duck, caught by Mitchell in the slips off Wagner. That was 73 for 2. And then Joe Root caught behind off Henry for just 4, 85 for 3 at that point. That was a flurry of 3 wickets for 13 runs in a little under 4 overs. And then Ollie Pope looking to cut, leaning back, but instead was caught behind by Blundell off Patel, gone for 19. So that's where we are at tea on this opening day. Andy, what have you got for us?
A little more on Zach Crawley's recent struggles. 106 runs in his last 11 innings. I've looked at England batsmen who've scored fewer runs than that in an 11-inning sequence. There's something to cling to for Crawley. Some fine players amongst them. Mike Atherton had 104 in 11 innings between February 1991 and July 1992. Had to face the mighty West Indians and a very fine Pakistan side in that time. Graham Gooch had a terrible Ashes series in 1981. Including that series and a couple of innings either side, 103 in 11 innings. And Nasser Hussain had 89 in 11 innings with 2 not outs in the year 2000. Before that, you've got to go back to George Ulyett, the first holder of the record for most Test appearances played in England's first test and was the most capped England player through the 1870s and 1880s. So a few players who've similarly struggled to Crawley.